beginning now. Brass tacks na daw po. So, beginning with our first speaker this morning. We know him very well, but please allow me to formally introduce him to everyone. He is the 2024 Tomas B. Lopez Jr. Professorial Chair for Education and the 10th President of the University of Makati. He is the newly elected president for the World University Network of Innovation for Presidents. He is a standing committee member on Higher Education of the Philippines, Second Congressional Commission on Education, or EDCOM-2, and a commander of the Armed Forces of the Philippines under the Philippine Navy Reserve. He is part of the Technical Experts Group for the development of the Philippines Qualifications Framework. He is a member of the National Industry or TVET Board for the Health Sector under the Technical Education and Skills Development Authority or TESDA, and is a trained arbitrator of the Philippine Dispute Resolution Center Incorporated. Also a lifetime member of the Philippine Economic Society. He is also a director of the Philippine National Red Cross Makati Branch, a board member of the YMCA Makati, and a fellow of the Society of Fellows in Supply Management. He finished his BSBA in Economics and MBA degree from Colegio de San Juan de Letrán, Manila, and was awarded the San Vicente PM de la Paz Most Distinguished Alumnus Award. This morning, he offers a timely and forward-thinking examination of how higher education institutions can contribute to national development, strategic governance, and global competitiveness. Please join me in welcoming our University President, Professor Alexor C. Ramos.
Magandang umaga at maraming salamat sa introduction. Let me begin by actually stating that last year, when I was invited to become part of the EDCOM group that visited the United States, I was asked a question by the commissioners. So they asked me, what's your takeaway in our visit to the United States? So we visited premier universities there. Ang sagot ko napaka-simple. Sabi ko, yung mga sinama nyo dito, ito na yung mga magagaling na mga eskwelahan eh. Nandito ang Ateneo, ang Lasal, ang UP, the National Engineering University, BATSU, and the leading local university in the Philippines, which is University of Makati. So sabi ko sa kanila, di pagbalik natin sa Pilipinas, itong mga eskwelahan na to, yung learnings nila, i-apply nila, lalo lang silang gagaling. So what about the rest of the higher educational institutions? So, ano ang pwedeng mangyari sa kanila? Okay. Kasi, ang sabi ko, di ba, yung ginagawa nila dito, karamihan dyan, napaka-imposibleng gawin sa bansa natin. So there really needs to be a change. And this paper actually is a response to that. And we want to model it first at the University of Makati. So the title of this paper is Reimagining, Redesigning, and Rebuilding the Dualized University Education System of the University of Makati as a model for collaboration among local colleges and universities, industry associations, and the government. So, this is, of course, through the visionary leadership of our former President, Tomas B. Lopez. So, I'll be sharing some facts and figures about this. No? Next slide, please. Out of 1 million college graduates annually, and this is still true very much today, 10% will find jobs aligned with their college degree, 30% will find jobs, and a vast majority will actually be unemployed. And what are the recruiters' laments about this? Next slide. And these are the common reasons why. Failure in the examination of interview, poor communication skills, applicants' residence is actually far from the job site, lack of experience, lack of extensive work experience, and inconsistency in submitted information and documents vis-a-vis claims of applicants. No? Just a side note on this. I think everyone in the university, I've shared this, that our transcript of records is one of the most forged school documents. That's why ang daming nagpupunta po dito sa atin, nagpapa-verify kung talagang graduate ba sila ng University of Makati. For me, that's both, an alarming and also a good news. Alarming in the sense that our documents can easily be forged, and that is the reason why we applied blockchain in our transcript of records. Good in the sense that our graduates are preferred by employers. Kaya ang daming nagpapa-verify kung talaga bang graduate sila ng University of Makati. And what is the unemployment profile in our country? Next slide, please. More than half of the unemployed are young, unskilled, inexperienced males from the urban areas. And this is what is actually, when this actually came out and still validated up to today by various EDCOM reports. A vast majority of those who are unemployed are actually those who spent more years in college. And there is an increase of unemployment, or unemployment actually increases with additional years of education. So when I first looked at this, sabi ko, totoo ba tong figures na to? But the reason being is very simple. If you spend more years in school, mamimili ka ng trabaho. So, someone who did not actually spend more years in school, kailangan niya mabuhay. So, kahit anong trabaho kukunin niya. Magtatrabaho siya as a construction worker, as a sales lady. But someone who finished college, most likely will not work as a construction worker. Okay? So, the question is, next slide, is there hope? And we've heard this before, that there is a huge gap between the competencies required in the workplace and the courses offered in the country's colleges and universities. And what was the University of Makati's response? By the way, this data that I'm sharing, I'm sure you've heard this before because these were statements made in the past already by our beloved former President Tomas Lopez. And what was the response of the University of Makati? The response was actually the dualized university education system. Okay. So, to give idea what JUICE is, especially for those who are new to the University of Makati, can you go to the next slide? The UMak dualized university education system combines academic instruction with industry-led training, offering a career-focused education. So the JUICE framework facilitates learning in both academic and industry settings, ensuring that courses are relevant and tailored to career pathways. Faculty collaborate with industry partners to deliver specialized courses, creating a synergistic educational environment. And when it was actually launched, I remember Prof. Lopez needed a champion. Bakit? Because when he was very new as president, most of the complaints and most of the points raised by faculty members then was, Sir, hindi natin pwedeng gawin yan kasi sabi ng CHED ganito. Sir, hindi natin pwedeng gawin yan kasi wala yan doon sa mga CMO. Okay? So, hindi natin pwedeng baguhin yung curriculum, hindi natin pwedeng baguhin yung number of OJTRs, hindi natin pwedeng baguhin yung how instruction is done inside the classroom. Okay? So, he needed a champion. And I came actually at the right time. Okay? I was designated as the champion for JUICE. So, the first full-blown JUICE programs were done under the College of Business Administration then, and the College of Technology Management. And my task then was to actually look for industry partners who are willing to take the risk and use this framework as a delivery model for our course delivery here at the University of Makati. And of course, we said that the rest is history. Oh, 3 months after graduation, our graduates are gainfully employed. It has built a reputation for the University of Makati. But the question now is, hanggang dyan na lang ba? Okay? Other institutions are also doing this model already. In fact, CHED has recognized the importance of industry and have already directed several CMOs aligning their CMOs with that of the needs of the industry. So what do we do now as an educational institution? So if we go to the next slide, my point is, our kids are very different from us when we were kids. And yet schools have remained the same. Okay? And these are some figures that I'll be showing as a result of the EDCOM study where I am actually a part of. We go to the next slide. This is part of the EDCOM 2 report. We realize that our poor performance in assessments may be symptomatic of the poor foundational skills of students. So these are data coming from EDCOM. I won't go through it one by one. If you go to the next slide, we also found out that there is a learning crisis. Filipino students have a learning gap of 5.5 years. So you could just imagine, 5.5 years yung hinahabol natin. If you go to the next slide, most students are already 2 to 3 years behind curriculum expectations in grade 3. And further, on the next slide, and this is very alarming, 30% of Filipinos are not functionally literate. So, ibig sabihin yan, they may know how to read and write, but don't know how to apply it. So, halimbawa, kung instruction sa taking medicine, kaya niyang basahin, kaso hindi niya naiintindihan. Yun yung ibig sabihin ng functional literacy. So, the problem with our schools today is not that they are not what they used to be, but that they are still what they used to be. And if we just continue with our current model of JUICE, then this will also be true to us. But schools is lifelong and life-wide because the 21st century is all about rapid, far-reaching change. And why is it a very good model for the University of Makati? If we take a look at the next slide, a school is a learning continuum. In fact, students spend more time, their waking hours, in school than at home. Mas marami pa po yung ginugugol na oras ng mga estudyante sa eskwelahan, yung waking hours nila kaysa sa kanilang mga bahay. So, we are in a very great opportunity to actually implement change and actually bring hope to the lives of our students. So, next slide. And this is how we characterize the new learning environment. It's customized, and we have to have adaptive learning systems. So, going now to my study. The study actually highlights the urgent need to reimagine, redesign, and rebuild the JUICE model to enhance learner mobility and collaboration among LUCs, industry, and the government. So, who were the respondents of this study? Actually, this study actually involved LUCs, namely Quezon City University, Universidad de Manila, Pamantasan ng Pasig, Mabalacat City College, Mandaluyong College of Science and Technology. And also, several industry practitioners, mostly coming from PISM, the Philippine Institute of Supply Management, where we have a full-blown implementation of our JUICE program. And lastly, from TESDA officials. So there were 60 survey questionnaires that were distributed amongst those officials. Okay? And the methodology used was a sequential explanatory mixed method. Primary data gathered on the questionnaires on the quantitative phase was done through questionnaires handed out to the respondents. The qualitative phase was done through interviews, dialogues, and consultations to validate the supplement questionnaire data. And secondary data sources included educational journals, books, and publications, particularly the EDCOM Year 2 and Year 1 report. So, what were the key findings? The first one is there is a global trend towards transforming educational delivery to meet the demands of a borderless economy. Second, a decline in the quality of education across all levels in the Philippines. Third, significant disparities in educational achievements among different socioeconomic groups. Fourth, a mismatch between training and job market needs, contributing to educated unemployment and underemployment. Just a side note as well, especially to the College of Business Administration and Financial Sciences, the EDCOM 2 report actually highlighted that the sector which has the highest level of underemployment is the banking and finance sector. Okay? A strong perception among stakeholders of the necessity for innovative education models to address systemic issues in the Philippine education system. And lastly, a moderate to high level of acceptability, applicability, and attainability of the reimagined, redesigned, and rebuilt JUICE model among LUCs and industry practitioners, with greater acceptance from TESDA officials. So what is this model all about? If you go to the next slide, this is the model that, can you go back? Yeah, this is the model that I'm talking about. At the center is still the UMak JUICE, the industry-academe partnership. But there will be a trifocalized, actually, partnership, not only with industry, but also working on portability of credentials between partner HEIs, more particularly LUCs. Another partner would be the issuance of micro-credentials from industries. And lastly, government recognition of industry certificates. So, what does the reimagined JUICE actually mean? The reimagined JUICE, redesigned and rebuilt JUICE model fosters collaboration not only with the industry, but also with government and other LUCs. It incorporates micro-credentials from the industry, portability of subjects and units earned among partner LUCs, and government recognition of industry academe certificates. We actually need more partners, and we have to work on ourselves, on the issues of relevance, on the issues of creativity, and the issue of efficiency. So, our key findings. Can you go now to the key findings, please? Next slide. Okay. There is a global trend towards transforming educational delivery to meet the demands of a borderless economy. Second, a decline in the quality of education across all levels in the Philippines. And the next slide actually highlights that our children are falling behind very early on because of weak foundations. Third, significant disparities in educational achievement among different socioeconomic groups. Fourth, the mismatch between training and job market needs contributing to educated unemployment and underemployment. And fifth, a strong perception among stakeholders of the necessity of innovative educational models to address systemic issues in the Philippine education system. And six, as I mentioned earlier, this is the acceptability for the new JUICE model. So what are the recommendations? Based on the conclusions drawn from the following, these are the recommendations proposed. Number 1, local government units, LGU should help identify local employment needs and guide LUCs to align their objectives with ensuring employability of graduates. In fact, I had a long debate with CHED officials during the validation of our institutional recognition because they are insisting on following CMO 18 from CMO 32. And CMO 18, which actually governs local colleges and universities, actually mandates that as part of our Board of Regents, we should have either a member from the DOST or the Department of Agriculture. So my contention was, being an LUC, hindi ba dapat mas okay na someone from DILG or DOLE? Okay. Kasi all local colleges and universities, the nature for their creation really is for employment, especially for the local needs of their city or the municipality. Second, LUC officials should engage with industry leaders to address the industry-academe mismatch and revise curricula to better align with industry needs. Kasi sa totoo lang, tayo naman talaga yung mas nakakaalam kung ano yung pangangailangan dun sa local industry natin, local needs. So, kumbaga, babalik ako dun sa question, why do we need Department of Agriculture in our board? We are in an highly urbanized diba, area. So, what relevance would DA contribute in the Board of Regents of the University of... Hindi naman sa sinasabi kong wala. But siguro mas may magiging ambag kung someone from DOLE or someone from DILG yung nandun. Third, implement effective apprenticeship programs for LUC faculty to ensure that classroom instruction reflect real-time industry requirements. Fourth, encourage LUCs to adopt the reimagined, redesigned, and rebuilt JUICE model as a framework for promoting learner mobility and collaboration among local colleges, universities, and industry and government. And based on the conclusions drawn, the fifth proposal is in adopting the fourth recommendation, the following needs to be established and done. First, an accepted credit transfer system that allows mobility of students and portability of units and prior learning. So this is next steps. Second, develop formal articulation agreements among partner LUCs, industry, and government. Next, work towards developing a shared curriculum which allows for digital learning portfolios and advising and support services. Ensure adherence to government quality assurance standards that is open to assessment and evaluation, and ensure stakeholders' engagement in its implementation and monitoring. So, as a model, what have we done to actually implement the reimagined, redesigned, and rebuilt JUICE? First is our passport system. Okay? The passport system, next slide, unfortunately was shelved because of the discontinuance of the support from USAID. But the idea there was we were supposed to come up with a shared and agreed upon standard between our partner LUCs where there can be portability and credit transfer. So if you are a student from Mabalacat City College and you want to pursue and you take up a diploma course there and you want to pursue a degree in our engineering technology program, then everything that they took there can be credited and will be allowed here at the University of Makati. The same is true for our students in the College of Engineering. Let's say, for example, they at the middle or their second or third year, they decide that civil engineering is not really what they want, but it is electronics engineering. Then they can also have portability with our partner Valenzuela PLV, which has a very strong engineering program. That was supposedly the design. And you have a passport, a literal passport. Parang di ba, the passport is very powerful. It tells you if we can be accepted, if you don't need a visa or things like that. So if we have a passport system na tatatak doon, ito lahat ng mga skills, ito lahat ng mga subjects na nakuha ko na, and we agree, then you can actually transfer to another institution. So that was the design as one of the points for the trifocalized new version of JUICE, not only with the industry, but also partnering with other LUCs. The second is on micro-credentials. And we've said this, that the other partner there is for our industry partners to also come down or to actually develop micro-credentials with us together. So, our full-blown JUICE programs, for example, in the Bachelor in Supply Chain Management, then we can break down the subjects or the lessons into different modules and bring it down to different micro-credentials as well. And what we have done already a model here as well with our partnership with APEG. Now, courses that are taken in the University of Makati through our partnership with APEG not only gives credits as a micro-credential coming from the University of Makati, but also earns them international micro-credentials through IIBP, and also earns them credit units if they want to transfer or study or work in Australia. Okay? Innovative academic programs, and this is where government partnership also comes in. And this is actually being spearheaded by the Institute of Arts and Design, which was actually tasked by both CHED and TESDA to actually work on the micro-credentials. So, what I am actually angling for with TESDA is, kapag graduate ng UMak IAD ng animation, automatic may NC4 in animation. That is what I have been angling for. So, parang sinasabi ko, kung meron tayong partnership with CTHM for Jollibee, okay? Pagka-graduate ng bata, meron na dapat automatic na conversion nung kanyang degree, he or she also earns an NC4 on food and beverage services. Because the name of the industry is there. Hindi naman itataya nung pangalan ng Jollibee, yung pangalan nila in partnership with the University of Makati. And that is what we have been working for with TESDA. I've had very promising discussions with TESDA about this. Ang sabi lang nila sa akin, Press, we cannot be actually company agnostic. Even if we consider Jollibee as the leader as far as the quick service restaurant is concerned, it would still be much better if it is an industry association. And that is what we've been working right now with the Institute of Arts and Design, because we are actually working with the Animation Council of the Philippines. So, what we are angling for is our graduates, because we develop actually the PQF we were part of that for the animation industry. Our graduates, not only, the trifocalized system because it's already there in JUICE, then they get government conversion or recognition also of their diploma. They get an NC automatically from TESDA. Then, it also has micro-credentials that can actually be recognized not only in the Philippines but also abroad. And it is also a pathway for other LUCs. Maybe if they want to pursue a further degree or a course aligned to animation, but that is not being offered in the University of Makati, but is offered in another institution, then all of the units that they took will actually be credited. Okay? So that is actually how I picture the reimagined, the redesigned, and the rebuilt dualized university education system of the University of Makati. So, gone are the days that we will only work with the industry. because we will not operate in silos. Sabi ko nga po kanina, we need more partners. And we need actually the government. We have to work with CHED. We have to work with TESDA. We have to work with DOLE. We have to work with other government agencies. We also need to partner with other LUCs. Because even if we consider ourselves as the best LUC, there are other LUCs which actually has niche programs on their own. Okay? Which might be better than what we are offering, or programs that are not currently offered in the University of Makati. But there is a pathway for our students to go and earn a degree without any questions on the credits, that will be transferred to them. And lifelong learning is actually, the next thing for education. And that is why micro-credentials will always be there. And who better actually to certify and to give these micro-credentials than our industry partners themselves? Because they are the ones that are actually employing our graduates in the first place. They are the ones who actually tell us that, I need more specialists on this. Okay? Parang naalala ko yung conversation ko as a point, kay Dean Acel, nung kinakwento niya noon, because she's here, sabi niya, alam mo sir, meron nga dyan, doon sa animation, ang gusto lang nilang gawin, clean-up artist lang. Magbura lang ng mga linya. And that is a highly specialized skill, na nandoon, incorporated in our program, but it can be broken down and can be delivered also as a micro-credential in our dualized university education system. So, this, my friends, is the model that I am proposing. It had actually a great level of acceptability among other LUCs from TESDA and also our industry partners. And hopefully, the next steps that I mentioned are things that we can actually do moving forward. So thank you very much. And of course, I owe all of this to the man on the last screen, please. Last slide. To Tomas B. Lopez Jr., a mentor, a visionary educator, and a professor to the truest sense. Magandang umaga po at maraming salamat.
Thank you very much, Professor Ramos, for your presentation. And I would like to request our audience to please mentally take note of your questions. Again, for the benefit of those who just came in, we will have a roundtable discussion once all four speakers are done. And we may very well ask those questions, especially since it's rather impactful for us. As Professor Ramos said, he may have just zeroed in on the banking industry, but the truth to the matter is everyone in this room is part and parcel of the solution to that, so we could give our questions later. Proceeding now to the next talk. We know him as our colleague in the site, but please allow me to introduce him formally today. He is the current Dean of the College of Innovative Teacher Education, bringing over 27 years of experience in teaching and educational leadership, both in the Philippines and internationally, dedicated to shaping the future of teacher education. His academic background includes a bachelor's degree in secondary education major in English, a master's in educational leadership, and a doctorate in innovative educational management. An American English alumni, he completed the Professional Development for Teacher Trainers course online by Arizona State University, sponsored by the U.S. Embassy in Manila, and holds 2 global competence certifications from AFS programs in the U.S. and China. He was awarded Dangal ng Bayan Awardee in 2018 and received the Gawad Panuhay Award for Outstanding Deans in Teacher Education Institutions in 2024 and 2025. Recently, he was recognized as one of the 8 finalists for the Outstanding Education Award in Higher Education at the EduTech 2025 Awards in Singapore and selected from over 400 nominees in Asia. Today, he brings to us a talk which advances knowledge in his field. His latest work provides valuable insights that can help shape both academic thinking and practical implementation strategies. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Jason Bergania.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us. It's truly an honor to be speaking alongside a roster of great intellectuals here in the university. Thank you very much, Ms. Camille, for that very generous introduction. Ako din naman ang nagbigay. All right. So, my presentation is titled Self-Directed to Self-Determined Learning Towards Achieving Philippine Qualification Framework Standards through Utagogy Practices in the University of Makati's Graduate School. Sabi kanina ni VP Jewel after the presentation of the President, ang dami nating gagawin. So ito rin po additional na gagawin. It's not working? Sige, next. This study comes very timely, especially now that the government agencies are cracking down on diploma mill universities. And of course, we don't want to be in that light. So this paper is actually a challenge for us in the University of Makati, especially with the challenge of the President and what we have always been saying, that we are the best local university in the country. So, totoo kaya ito? Next slide. So when I was preparing this paper, it was during the time when I was invited by St. Louis University in Baguio to talk about self-determined learning for the graduate school professors. And I stumbled upon, with my readings, a concept called utagogy. This might be something new to some, but let me tell you, this is not very new. So I asked myself, go back, these questions, and being part of the graduate school roster of faculty as well, do our students in the graduate school really meet the required standards set by the regulation, by CHED, and the Philippine qualification framework? No? Nami-meet kaya talaga nila by the time they graduate? Second, tinanong kong sarili ko, do we truly assess effectively and sufficiently yung ating mga estudyante sa graduate school? Meron kaya tayo talagang tamang sistema? At pangatlo, do our faculty in the graduate school practice utagogical methodologies in their teaching in the graduate school? So my presentation will not be the usual paper presentation that goes with each part of the paper, but I extracted the significant findings and the parts and concepts that I would like to share with everyone. So I'll start by presenting the regulatory dimension as stated in the CHED CMO for graduate school and the Philippine Qualification Framework, then jump to the concepts, definitions, and practices of utagogy, and then I'll share about utagogical practices in the university, and then my recommendations and the proposed or the output. So what should students achieve by enrolling in the graduate school? QS Journal stated 10 reasons or 10 purposes why should a student get a graduate degree. But with my experience of teaching in the graduate school in several universities, ito yung laging sinasagot ng mga estudyante ko. The 5 Ps. Prestige, profit, professional development, personal growth, and promotion. Related din naman po siya dito sa sinabi ni QS. But surprisingly, no student has ever answered because I want to contribute to the body of knowledge. So what does CHED Memorandum number 15 series of 2019 say about graduate programs? Napakalinaw po. It is an advanced program of study. It requires rigorous evaluation of work and interactions with professors and peers, professional experience via internship, teaching and research, and production of original research or creative work. The main goal of a graduate program is to contribute to the process of knowledge acquisition, generation, sharing, and exchange. It also leads the graduate to have the mastery of a specialized field of study, developing the skills that prepare the degree holder for advanced instruction and leadership positions in the areas of research, creative work, as well as the practice of his or her profession. Also, CHED stresses how should we deliver graduate programs. It requires for cutting-edge, integrative, and interrogative teaching and learning content methods, and also leading the students to achieve higher competencies in knowledge production, knowledge sharing and exchange, teaching, and knowledge application and utilization. I'm sure there are some professors or attendees here who are also handling graduate programs. So I hope that through my presentation, we will also all reflect, right? But CHED is also very flexible by actually allowing flexibility in the delivery of instruction, allowing innovation, allowing the use of technology, kaya naman yung blended approach, hindi po yun mali. Now, so if we will summarize the documents, we will see the difference between the master's and the doctorate program. The master's program is an advanced academic and professional knowledge, second degree, higher than the bachelor's degree, contains substantial research component, and is theoretically based. While the doctorate program demonstrates contribution to advanced scholarship, highest level of academic degree, leading to an advanced research qualification or regional research devoted to advanced study. Ideally, prior work experience in the discipline is required, which entails the creation of new knowledge in the field. So again, I'd like to emphasize the ultimate goal of a graduate school, which is to contribute to the process of knowledge acquisition, generation, sharing, and exchange through the use of integrative and interrogative methods. And look at the cutting-edge methods that should be used in the graduate program. It should be inquiry-based, heavy on synthesis, practicing metacognitive analysis, disciplinarity systems, deeper learning, and the presence of rigor. Now, let's go to the Philippine Qualifications Framework, which was mentioned by the President also earlier. This was introduced in 2012, but was enacted in 2018. But this is a national system that standardizes qualifications of people, okay, across different disciplines regardless of what training you have completed. May it be from CHED, from TESDA. This is going to make things comparable with each other para yung recognition of our education background is there. This was based on the ASEAN or Asian framework na ginagamit din po ngayon. So when we actually graduate or complete certain qualification, hindi nalalayo yung ating qualification sa ating mga neighbors in the ASEAN region. So you can see that level 7 and 8 pertain to doctorate and the master's program. Okay, so this framework actually presents its descriptors based on three areas: knowledge, skills, and values, application, and degree of independence. For masters, you can see advanced knowledge and skills, while in the doctorate program, highly advanced systematic knowledge and skills in a highly specialized and or complex multidisciplinary field of learning. nung binabasa ko po ito, nagre-reflect ako, graduate ako ng UMak. Did I really achieve this level of qualifications? And then, nag-reflect din ako, application, professional creative work or research. Okay, gumawa naman tayo niyan. Okay, but for doctorate, professional leadership and for innovation in a highly specialized and multidisciplinary discipline. And for degree of independence, which I'd like everyone to focus on, for master's program, they are given high substantial degree of independence, while in the doctorate program, you can be given full independence. So I recall the presentation by the Vice President for Academic Affairs last week. Sa ibang mga programs ng graduate school, wala na raw masyadong coursework. Nakafocus na talaga sila doon sa creation and production. So is this something that we should also explore in the graduate school of the University of Makati? So let me now bring you to the concept of eutagogy. Because as I read about self-determined learning, and eutagogy is the concept, parang ito yung perfect methodology that should be used in the graduate program. But are we truly aware what are eutagogical practices that can be used? So eutagogy is not a very new concept. It's already old, but it's becoming very popular now. Bakit kaya? Because with the challenge among us educators to really prepare our graduates for the complex world na laging nagbabago, kailangan hasain ang estudyante to actually become autonomous with how they decide with their life, with how they do things. Because yun ang demand ng totoong buhay. So, competency and capability building is very important. It actually came from the word euriskein, which means self-learning independent of formal teaching, where the word heuristic actually originated, defined as a method of teaching by allowing students to discover for themselves. And the very goal of eutagogy is to produce students who are self-determined in their workforce as well. I was thinking, in the age of artificial intelligence, do our students still think? When they can already just generate anything, mag-iisip pa ba sila? Nag-iisip pa ba sila? But if we will let these people graduate and they do not know how to think, how will they fare at the workplace? So, if you would notice, andito yung mga kapatid ni eutagogy. Kapatid niya si pedagogy, si andragogy, and si eutagogy, which is called as academagogy. And academagogy is an amalgamation of different learning concepts and theories. Pero ito po, basically, in simple terms, the right teaching method for the right set of students. There's no one whole fits all. We know pedagogy is for the kids, for the children, heavy on engagement, on modeling, teacher-centered. As they grow, andragogy, which is self-directed. It is not anymore teacher-centered, but more of teacher-student-centered. There is negotiation between the teacher and the student, because at the end of the day, the teacher will still guide the student through a course guide, etc. But eutagogy is self-determined learning, giving full independence and autonomy to the students. And the goal is realization. For students to understand fully, why should I learn? How should I learn? And what should I learn? If you would notice in this graphic representation, habang nagmo-move dun sa continuum, nagmo-move din yung learner maturity and the autonomy required. Mas mataas ang autonomy pagdating sa eutagogy. And look at the instructor control and the structure required, nagmo-move din. Okay, as it moves through the continuum. All right. So, at makikita natin kung babalikan po ang CHED-CMO, it also talks about level of autonomy for masters and for the doctorate program. So, these are now the 4 utagogical practices that can be utilized by teachers. Ano po ito? Learner-centered learning, which I know everybody is very familiar. This is considering the student as the very heart of the teaching and of the learning process. Non-linear learning. Ano yung non-linear learning? Siyempre, ang opposite nito, linear learning. Ito yung simula, ito yung kasunod, ito yung susunod, ito yung katapusan. It's a very systematic way of delivering teaching. But non-linear is not like that. Okay? And then, capacity and capability development. There is a difference between capacity and capability. What is capacity? Capacity building is the proven skills of acquiring knowledge and skills, or ability of acquiring knowledge and skills, kapasidad, which leads to competencies. Ano naman yung capability? Capability naman is the ability to make use of these competencies and be able to apply them in familiar and unfamiliar situation. And the double loop learning, medyo malabo, and this might be something new, which I would like to emphasize. Single loop learning only concerns about the need, the problem, the mistake that you need to correct. And then you act on it and you provide the solution. And that's the end. While double loop learning is different, which is encouraged in utagogy. After you deliver the solution, you encourage the students to reflect, going back to their aspirations and their beliefs. Why did that happen? Why did I do that solution? Why did that problem came out in the first place? So comparing andragogy with utagogy, makikita po natin ang difference. Okay? So the next question, ano yung ginagawa ba o ano ba yung mga utagogical practices na ginagawa sa graduate school? At ano rin yung mga challenges na na-encounter ng ating mga graduate school professors? Okay, so what I did, I prepared a survey instrument and I crafted several statements representing the different utagogical principles. Saan galing ito? These are from several literatures and practices about utagogy, from how they are practiced in Malaysia, in the UK, and in Australia. And then I made use of this interpretation table or reference. Okay, hindi ko na po iisa-isahin yung result, but I would like to go to the key findings. Based on the mean and average scores, lumabas po na 100% fall within the scale of always practiced, interpreted as very high extent. All our graduate school professors are using utagogical practices in the graduate school. Maybe hindi lang po familiar dun sa konsepto, but they are doing this. So that's a good news. And among the 4 principles, it's learner-centered learning and double loop learning that are widely used or most widely used. So I conducted informal dialogues and interviews with them. At ito po yung kanilang mga learner-centered approaches na ginagamit and how they also utilize double loop learning on how they do the learner-centered activities. So they do topic presentation and knowledge sharing, group dynamics and activities, benchmarking activities, community visits, internship, and research project. And I also experienced all of them when I was the student. Here is an interesting finding. There are 2 statements there which I considered the most unpopular. And both of the statements actually have to do with assessment. How are we assessing the students? And how do we monitor the indicators of our learners' demonstration of advanced knowledge and skills related to their course? So it can be gleaned that there is a need for an improved system in managing, monitoring, and assessing students' performance. So, ano naman yung mga challenges na i-share ng ating mga graduate school faculty? Sabi nila, there's limitation due to online learning modality. And I know graduate school is planning to address this already in the coming days. Motivation in pursuing graduate school, iba-iba ang motivation. Yung iba nga, gusto lang mag-graduate school dahil gusto ng promotion. Yung iba naman, dahil gusto na mag-increase yung sweldo. Or yung iba, gusto talagang mag-contribute to the body of knowledge. Lack of readiness to the rigor of graduate students. Marami daw mga estudyante, hindi sila aware ano ang dadat na nila sa graduate school. So merong shock factor. Akala ko madali lang. Yung pala madugo. And limited exposure and skills in research. Sabi ng mga professors, MA na, nagdodoktor na. Hindi pa rin ganon kagaling or kahusay pagdating sa pagre-research. At hirap pa din ang ating mga professors. So, here are my recommendations. Number 1, I think there's a need for us to conduct about or orientation about what does really the regulation require. Let's talk about what the CHED requires or what CHED explains about graduate school for both students and teachers. Hold faculty training on utagogy principles because yun nga, hindi lang aware dun sa tawag, sa label, pero utagogy pala yung ginagawa. Third, improve graduate students orientation program to highlight ito ang ma-expect ninyo pag kayo ay nag-enroll. Hindi lang ito kagaya ng college. Pag nag-submit kayo ng paper, hindi pwedeng lahat ginugel lang o lahat ay copy-paste lang. Implement blended learning modality. So VPED lumalabas na talagang tama yung direction na baka kailangan mag-blended na tayo sa graduate school. Conduct more research capability trainings. And ito po yung naging output ko for the study. Prescribe a standard checklist of terminal graduation requirements which measures graduate students' achievement or demonstration of competencies and capabilities aligned to the level of proficiency and standards set by PQF and the CHED CMO. And also conduct further studies about this, of course, maybe with a different locale, with a different group of respondents. So going back to the second to the last recommendation, this is my proposed framework for the terminal requirement, which can be reviewed by CCAPs for possible implementation. For the master's level, the first column shows you what the PQF requires for level 7. The second presents what CMO asks for master's program. The current requirement that we have, at least with what I know, although in PA, I know they have a different one kasi may mga estudyante daw dyan na talagang nire-require na rin lang mag-present ng paper, mag-publish, but it's not standard across all programs. So passing the compre and the thesis writing. So my recommendation, of course, passing the compre, which is a prerequisite to thesis writing, attendance to local conferences, research presentation locally, pero baka naman gustong mas taasan pa, international na rin, kahit master's level, membership in reputable professional organization or community of practice, because the framework, PQF and CMO, both requires for lifelong learning. Approved thesis, because research is required. And of course, publication in index or referee journal may be local for masters. And for the doctorate program, same format, what PQF says, what the CMO says, and then internally, the current terminal one, again, compre and approved dissertation, at least in my context. Here is the proposed terminal graduation requirement. Passing the compre, attendance to local and international conferences, research presentation, international. This output does not reflect the sufficiency level, whether kung ilan, dalawa, tatlo, isa, or a range. I will leave that for stakeholder discussion. Research presentation, membership in reputable professional organization or community of practice, approved dissertation, and publication in both local and international. Okay, yung mga enrolled ngayon, huwag kayong magagalit sa akin ha. Proposal pa lang po ito. Hindi pa naman po ito sure kung i-adapt. But this proposal is based on what the PQF and the CMO require. This study is also accepted for a paper presentation in Indonesia by December 8th. And so to conclude, I'd like to present to you a powerful photo. You may be remembering the phone that you had during your younger years. But this is very powerful because it only shows how things are evolving, how life has evolved, and how the education landscape is also evolving. And so the question is, are we also willing to evolve? So thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Bergania. So as mentioned earlier, kindly reserve your questions for the roundtable discussions. And I hope that there were several reflections on our end, not just the type of mobile phones that we used to own 20 years back. And I hope po, natatahi din po natin, no? Because from Professor Ramos, we heard that there's a 5.5 gap when it comes to learning. And yet, here is Professor Bergania also saying that we have to go Utagoji. So how do you go Utagoji when there's a 5-year learning gap? Nasa pedagogy pa lang yung a lot of the students that we're going to work with, and yet we have to consider evolution. So I hope that that stays in us as we listen to the next few speakers. And on that note, may I introduce the third speaker? Medyo nininervyos po ako dahil teacher ko din po siya sa research. So let me formally introduce him to everyone. He is Dr. Lloyd to students and to colleagues. He is an educator, researcher, and consultant in the fields of public management, governance, policy sciences, research, and applied statistics. Prior to obtaining his doctoral degree in public administration from the University of the Philippines, Diliman, he held various positions for more than 2 decades in government agencies such as DAR, CSC, GSIS, and DENR. In 2012, he was the policy director for the Philippine Presidential Commission on the Visiting Forces Agreement, or VFA. He was also a faculty and senior fellow at the Development Academy of the Philippines. In 2021, he was appointed as Deputy Executive Director in the Pasig River Office under the DENR. His work with the military and police sectors has been extensive. Dr. Lloyd provides technical assistance with the National Security Council and the National Police Commission. Aside from facilitating strategic planning workshops, he advises government on analyzing big data and various policy measures. Dr. Lloyd has been commissioned as a Commodore in the Auxiliary Philippine Coast Guard in April of 2024. For this morning, he asks each and everyone through his presentation, how can cities remain livable, resilient, and sustainable in the face of rapid urbanization, climate pressures, and technological disruption? Please help me welcome Dr. Teodoro Loydon Bautista.
So thank you, Camille, for that kind introduction. Camille she's one of one of the best students that I have also. I have some students here also. So, President Ramos, Dr. Ed, to my colleagues, Dr. Browner also. And I have familiar faces here. Some are my students, colleague. Dr. Leonard also. One good-looking student of mine also. I don't know if is Dr. Pomps here. Pomps, si Dr. Dr. Adamos told me that I have to wear a Filipiniana, kaya nagbarong ako. Wala naman nakabarong. Ito talaga si Dr. Pomps. So, sumulat gotta wear a barong Tagalog. So when I went I can't come back to my car anymore. But I just want to talk to you about a journey I had with when I visited Dubai. I think it was a year ago, and I was so fascinated with Dubai, and I said to myself, I should do a research about Dubai and talk about smart city. And lo and behold, because at that time, Makati was really pushing to become a smart city. And that's what the dear professor said earlier when he presented. I think one of the things that we do in research to young students here, no, to explain it to some of our students. Why do we do all of these things? We call it intellectual digression. Because any advanced society requires that model, that idea, that is transformed to what we used. Yung pinakita ni Professor, the smartphones, it didn't come from industry. It came from research. Deep research by people who were able to prove something, and it was assimilated in society. The challenge for us is because we do lots of things in universities, but it does not become assimilated to society. That is the chasm. That is the wide gap as far as universities are concerned. And I surmise because the way we deal with university, and I always explain this to my students, it's a higher form of high school education. Ganun pa rin ang universities natin. We teach it the way we teach it in high school. It's a paper and pencil assessment. We treat our students as if they're high school students. And I guess because most of our students naman, di ba, pag first year, para rin talagang mukhang bata, no? But if you go outside, you would see students are entering the university at the age of 20. So medyo mature na when they come. And the dear professor said also that in some university, in their graduate schools, wala na talagang coursework. That's actually true. Because when you enter a graduate study, a PhD, the intention is to create more knowledge. You are assigned a mentor. Tapos yung mentor mo will help you come up with your paper. But the challenge there is most of our faculty, our mentors, are not also exposed to research, to consulting, to work outside the university because we don't allow them. We feel that pag pinalabas natin sila, it's more of just earning economic returns at the expense of the university. But in the US, when I visited it, sabi nila 12 hours of their load. Diba? May mga load tayo eh. 12 hours should be, a month 12 hours should be in consulting. Go out, meet people in government, meet people in the industry, and share what we're doing in our university. So that's the reason why I wanted to focus on smart city. Something that can inform our local policymakers of how to do it because Dubai has already done it. Ang haba ng introduction ko, baka hindi ko ito matapos. But I'll try to summarize this. So most of the pictures that I'm going to show you is what I experienced in Dubai. And the title is, we want to benchmark Dubai because the way I see it is they've done already and met the concepts of what a smart city is. And it's aligned towards Makati, that by 2030, because we have the Sustainable Development Goals, hopefully Makati will have aligned not only goals of poverty alleviation, removing hunger. It's really about a sustainable and livable city. And if you look at Makati, Makati has all the elements, all the potential to become a smart city. Can we go to the next slide? I won't read some of the slides anymore, but along the way, I'll just give you some example. When I arrived in Dubai, the first thing I noticed is that they don't have any traffic enforcers, police officers in the streets. None whatsoever. And I noticed that most of the motorists are following the rules. Everybody are following the rules. And I also noticed that they have CCTV cameras with different types of sensors. When I talked to my host, the first thing they said to me was, if there's going to be any car accident or emergency, you would see responders, police officers would immediately go to that area. So it's not a matter of police visibility. No? Kasi tayo dito sa Pilipinas, we think that pag nandyan yung police, walang gagawa ng kalokohan. Pag wala na, you're having problems. But they don't really have the presence of authorities. But if there's an accident, talagang they will go there immediately in a few seconds. Then I talked to the host and I said, during the pandemic, what happened here? Did you have a lockdown? Because in the Philippines, we had several weeks of lockdown and it dramatically affected our economy. And they said that, no, we didn't have a lockdown. Kasi by the time that you arrived in Dubai, you register your phone, and then your phone becomes your surveillance. So pag sinabi, you quarantine for 7 days, they know where you are. So all of this is because Dubai has reached a level where they understood many of the urban problems that's going to arise with majority of your population going to urban areas, which I think no less different from Makati. Kasi Makati has all of these basic essential goods offered for free. And everybody wants to go to Makati. Diba? In fact, I myself, when I was teaching here, through Professor Ann, nabigyan ako ng yellow card. And nagamit ko siya, diba? So, imagine how many people would want to be in Makati to enjoy all of these benefits. And because of that, there's going to be problems if so many people are going to cities, not only Makati, but 17 LGUs in Metro Manila. You see the congestion, you see the traffic, you see the flooding. All of these are going to be the struggles in the next years as city face many of this disaster and climate-induced calamities. So the idea now for Dubai is how do we use ICT to transform ourselves into a global smart city? And Makati, I surmise, has that promise through the help of the university. If the university can present that there is already an architecture to come up and to become a smart city, we can present it to the local policy makers because you have this pathway already, this opportunity to be the first city in the country to be a smart city. Let's go to the next slide. The definition of a smart city is to use ICT, but more importantly, the Internet of Things. The Internet of Things is how our digital devices will be connected to different databases that the city offers. Sensors, di ba? Kasi marami tayong apps sa ating digital device, but they operate separately. We don't have a dashboard about the city. So if we want to see the volume of traffic, we go to Waze, di ba? If we want to see determine if it's going to rain today, di ba, we go to another app. Now, what the Dubai did was they consolidated all of this information at the tip of the fingers of the constituents of Dubai, and they can pay their taxes, licenses, permits, everything through that dashboard. So they have this Dubai app platform where you can do practically anything with respect to your transaction with the city. And that's the Internet of Things. But more than that, they have a very powerful data analytics that can inform the local officials. Kasi yung local officials natin are swamped with so many challenges, and they need information 24/7, what is happening, where do we allocate our resources. So you become smart because you use ICT. But not only being smart in the use of ICT, it's how you become sustainable, how you become competitive, and more importantly, how you improve the quality of life. So it's the use of information, communication technology, but without sacrificing the future needs of the next generation. That is what being a smart city is. I also noticed in Dubai, they can even gauge how many people are going to parks, recreational centers, museums, diba? Rather than malls. Kasi sa Pilipinas, tayo were mall goers rather than going to parks. And there's a reason behind encouraging people to go to parks, because your health becomes better if you go to parks. You see more aesthetic things, and then you can also exercise. That's very important, because the Department of Health already said that 60% of many of our health diseases are coming from non-communicable diseases like heart disease, cardiovascular disease, and others, and diabetes. Now, if we go to the next slide, may mga challenges like any other city, because the problem with Metro Manila was that after World War II, many of our infrastructures were destroyed, and we were trying to recover, but at the same time built without any plans. So many of our infrastructure right now, not only in Makati, are aging infrastructure. We have water supply that in the long run would be inconsistent as well, and power supply as your population increase. The problem of shelter, because people would want to move to the cities, move in areas that are informal settlements. So you have this challenge that will affect most of us here, including internet connectivity. So in the future, because of congestion, because we don't have any regulation over the purchase of vehicles, everybody owns vehicles right now. Si Professor Ed yata, Dr. Tapia, how many vehicles you own? Baka 5. So most of us would own 2 or 3 vehicles already because of the lack of a mass transport system. But Makati is now in the cusp of being the likelihood of being a smart city because of the revenues you earn. This is the second wealthiest city. But the challenges remains to be structural and capacity based. Now, can we go to the next slide? This is the set of declaratory problem statement. So for the students here, when we do research talaga, we have to identify what do you really intend to focus your study. And when you defend your paper, usually this is where the rubber hits the road. Pag hindi malinaw yung statement of the problem mo, the panel might reject it. But the study is very simple. It just wants to explore factors that will facilitate the pathway of Dubai as a smart city. And from there, we can investigate their best practices, their strategies, their lessons learned to inform our local officials on how to become a smart city. When I applied for this fellowship, the panel specifically told me, what is it that you're going to research that's going to contribute to Makati City? Yun talaga. To the city government, to the community. So I mentioned to them, well, there is this smart city initiative by Dubai. Baka the city can learn from that. They can see what areas to prioritize, where to focus their resources, and how to achieve it. So the panel said, oh, that seems to be interesting. Okay, sige, go ahead, do that research. So let's go to the research questions. The research questions are actually very simple. I also presented it to the panel, and I said, we're just looking at how Makati can leverage, not actually imitate, but just leverage what we have to the best practices and lessons learned on the strategic journey of Dubai. So baka may mapulot tayo, di ba? Second is, what are current barriers, challenges, and gaps that faces Makati in realizing her aspirations to become a smart city? The third is, how do we reimagine the possibilities taken by Dubai that also can drive Makati to become a smart city and improve the quality of life of our residents? As I've said, compared to other constituents in other city, you are envied. Kasi ang ganda naman talaga ng Makati. No? And many people would want to migrate to Makati. And last, as always, in the field of public administration and governance, our training, kami nila Ed, our Dr. Tapia, our training is to really come up with concrete measures, budgetary estimates, strategic plans that will help us accelerate Makati's goal to become a smart city. Next slide. There are lots of literatures already about Dubai's journey. In fact, Dubai was just a remote settlement, and then they were able to find oil, and from that, its trajectory went up. But not only that, the thing about Dubai is they knew that oil will eventually gradually diminish as years pass by. So they wanted to shift their strategy to be a tourist hub and a financial center in the Middle East. So there was that movement towards that. One of the things I also learned in the extensive literature, and I think the organizers will share the actual paper, is that there were many cities who attempted to be a smart city, but they failed. A lot of it is because of opposition of stakeholders. The budget, initially everybody was enthusiastic, pero pag tumagal, nawawala na ng gana ang tao. And the third is you really need the infrastructure, particularly connectivity, to be a smart city. So it's an extensive literature review about Dubai and efforts of other cities to become a smart city. Next slide. There are several milestones. As early as 1999, they initiated the groundwork to become a smart city. But what strikes me most is the attempt to do paperless transactions. Doon talaga nagsisimula. It starts off with how do you digitalize your public services and to become paperless. Several years ago, I attempted to file a housing loan with Pag-ibig. Grabe yung mga requirements. I don't know if some of you have already applied for a Pag-ibig loan. Grabe yung documents. I think I had to submit 12 documents, 12 requirements from different agencies and local government offices, to the point that I said to the document handler, parang if normal people will apply for this, nobody will apply for loans already. Kaya siguro wala talagang nagpapag-ibig loan. Marami is in the private sector because it's easier. But the intention here is just to really remove paperwork. And I found out that one agency actually saved about 7.8 million US dollars. Malaki na yun, di ba? That's almost about 400 million pesos. Just removing paper. And then eventually, committees are created. But I will explain to you one important factor, leadership. Because, chic. yung leadership nila, way back, si Muhammad bin Rashid Al Maktoum, was the one who created the vision to become a smart city. And along the way, it was a build-up to build-up of several gains that were sustained and was redirected towards a smart city. Now, one of the lessons that I found there is, compared to Dubai, we have more resources, natural resources. In fact, we have more skilled people here compared to Dubai. In fact, they're recruiting Filipino engineers, architects. But ang wala kasi tayo is the focus. Ang dami nating gustong gawin in one administration. Ang dami nating gustong programa na we don't see the concept of a driver. In Dubai, they said, if we focus all our energies in just being a smart city, everything will follow. You will have better services, you will have better transportation, you will have a better economy. Diba? So they were focusing more on drivers rather than programs. So if you look at the entire Philippine government, the way we are designed is programmatic. Paramihan ng programa at proyekto. Pag wala kang programa or proyekto, hindi kita bibigyan ng budget, 'di ba? Tapos wala kang ginagawa, tamad ka. Kasi wala kang pinapakitang accomplishment 'di ba? Kasi outputs. Pero sa kanila iba. And then they would really focus on that. They would really exert their energies on that, 'di ba? So, if you look at the number of years, 1999 to 2018, parang in the Philippine setting, that was from the time of Joseph Estrada, pero hindi naman masyadong matagal si Joseph Estrada. That's from the time of Mrs. Arroyo to the time of PRRD. They were able to do it. Diba? That's a short period of time. Diba? Kung titingnan mo yun, diba? Short lang yun. Diba? Short lang, very short. To interconnect everything, to build all of these things. That's a very short period of time. No? Tayo, we keep on going back. Parang we keep on circling. So next slide. Pero maganda kasi ito for Makati because Makati's leadership, irregardless of whether you say there's family infighting, isang political leadership. So ano siya, kaya sa Makati City. Now, what is more important here is the realignment of SDG 11, which I think is the livable quality city life. Affordable housing and basic services, sustainable transportation, inclusive urbanization, culture and natural heritage. Grabe yung mga museums nila. Grabe yung mga parks nila. Grabe yung mga monuments nila. Parang I think the best measurement of how civilized a society is those areas, parks, museums, and they're being visited by foreigners and also locals. And disaster resilience, environmental impact, access to green space. Kaya sometimes I get a bit sad because alam ko naman ang Pilipinas maganda. Anything that you plant here will grow. Pero we're not really into green spaces, walking. It's because the way we design our infrastructure. And then sustainable urbanized planning. Next slide. I like to go back to leadership. Alam mo yung vision nila, parang bata. Sabi niya, we want just to be the happiest city on earth. Diba? Parang the vision is, we want to be the happiest city. And when I went to one of their fanciest mall, on the second floor, I saw the vision, and I think there were 10 principles, 10 philosophical principles, di ba? Nasa mall, kasi sa Pilipinas, wala tayong ganun na where do we want to be in the next 2030? Because we're intellectuals and we are professors, alam natin, ang Vision 2040, Philippine Development Plan, we all know that. But for the normal people, when you explain that to them, mahirap diba? They can't understand it. So, they have this big mural in the second floor of this fancy mall. Nakalagay doon all of the principles. And one of the principles that I cannot forget is, we are going to invite the best and the brightest of the world, the architects, the intellectual, the data scientists, and our borders will be free for them to enter because we need innovation and creative diversity. Diba? So sila talaga, they invite people to make their society better. Well, ironically, tayo, we throw people away. Diba? Binabad trip natin yung mga magagaling. Diba? Babad tripin natin. Nag-a-abroad tuloy, nagmamigrate. Diba? Sayang, ano? Sabi ko, ang galing na ng Pilipinas. Diba? It's just, we just don't have this notion of what vision is, what national cohesion is, and where we want to go to as a nation. Parang, the nation is blessed with so much abundance, natural resources, pero we don't know what to do with it. And this guy had that vision. Parang, itong gagawin natin for the next 20 years. Wala na. I was said 5 minutes. Okay, I'll just explain the methodology, then it's over. Ano? Diba? The methodology is very simple. It is a qualitative descriptive case study, sourced from official records, and I analyze it through the 6-pillar framework of Smart Dubai. Tapos I interviewed experts there who told me their story. This is the Dubai 6 pillars. Can we go to the next slide? Yan. Parang may indicators sila. Then all agencies have to align themselves to those indicators. Smart economy, smart governance, smart environment, smart people, and smart mobility. So everybody was aligned towards that. Ano. Nothing, kasi tayo ang dami. So everybody is confused. What do we really want to prioritize? Diba? And then by the time that the president's term is over, we ask ourselves, ano nangyari after 6 years? Diba? Sila hindi. Basta, let's focus on this. Findings and discussion, I'll just go over it in the interest of time. They're very forward-looking, transformative leadership. May mga ano sila, accelerator hubs. So parang they develop app system. They even reward people who can develop an app system. And they have a strong engagement with the private sector, non-state actors. So a lot of investment was done by the private sector. But more importantly, they believe on the feedback of citizens through the sensors. Kasi yung app, pwede ka mag-feedback. Hindi maganda yung serbisyo nyo. Hindi maganda yung pila dito. Diba? Ayan, they can do that. Sa Philippines kasi, we're still into the leadership by walking. Diba? Yung leader ka, maglakad ka, tingnan mo kung ano nangyayari. Diba? Which is not an optimal way. Mapapagod naman yung leader kung lagi siya naglalakad, di ba? Parang si Pres, pagod na to sa kakalakad everywhere. Diba? And here are some experiences. Let's go to the next slide that I had. Can you, pwede yan i-on eh. Yung first picture siguro. Kaya mo bang i-on yan? Yan. So that is my first experience. I went to the library. So, I hope the librarian will not get mad at me. Wala na silang ano doon, yung mga librarian. Sorry, but baka we can advance to another level. Next, ito rin. So, I was taking a picture of that. Nagulat ako. Sabi ko, wow. So, you can borrow books, you can return books using that. The next is so they're into robotics already. Ito, walang nag-aano dito, control. That's artificial intelligence, and it can interact. So they're planning to do that to deliver parcels, to go to areas that are very dangerous. So, only sensors, tapos nakikipag-interact siya sa inyo. So, that's what's happening out there. Next slide. By the way, the role of higher education is really to immerse students and people. What is out there? Diba? Yun yung role natin eh. Our role is the intellectual capital. Diba? So, some people would say, masyado kayong nasa theory, masyado kayong ivory tower. But that's the role of people in the academe. We are the think tank, we're the brain trust of society. Tayo yung nagsasabi, these are things happening. Okay, so let's do something about our society. Other best practices, itong blockchain technology was really fascinating because when I observe it, their blockchain technology is when you submit a document in government, any changes that happens will be documented. So parang na siya naka-register, 'di ba? And if you tamper it, they know who tampers it. So when I was reflecting it, maganda pala to sa budget process natin para mawala na yung mga insertions, 'di ba? Malalaman mo kung sino nag-insert. And it's a very powerful technology that they use to be able to avoid yung mga tampering, corruption, and delays, They also have the online payment. I distinctly remember during the COVID-19 pandemic, ang daling magbayad sa gobyerno, tapos naging na naman, physical. Few slides na lang to. Next slide. So transformation was cross-government, cultural transformation. There was leadership, okay, we're familiar with that. And then policies was also very important to support many of the initiatives. And then the feedback of the people were continuous, feedback. And as I've said, they invited real scientists, PhD holders. Talagang they asked them to go. And even nga yan, yung paper base, as I've said, 245 million. Next slide. They're planning to have a helicopter that's stationed in their airport. By the way, their airport is so magnificent. If you go there, you'll be totally surprised. So, mayroong imbis na taxi, helicopter, sending you to the, they also have the Hyperloop train that can travel for 12 minutes at 151 kilometers. 151 kilometers is like from Manila to Nueva Vizcaya. So ganon, in 12 minutes, they plan to do that. I think tapos mga electric vehicles, I think I have a picture of that. Can we go down? Ito yung Hyperloop. They're already constructing it. And the chopper is there. Okay, so they might launch it within the few years. Pero yung Hyperloop ginagawa nila. Finally, some gaps, I think we're familiar with this, gaps of Makati, our technological readiness, our connectivity, our policies, we have to upgrade that. Cybersecurity and data privacy, digital literacy and skilled force, and also our interagency collaboration. In fact, I created a fishbone analysis. So just a takeoff from the challenges. Now, in practicality, because one of the things that the panel asked me is make it practical. So go down, please. This is the architectural framework. So it's four levels. You have your infrastructure, you have your data management, then you have to enable the services, then may mga apps individually. So that's the entire architecture. And if you look at the third bullet, there has to be sensors, that will inform us through the data coming from the people themselves. How many times do they go to the museum? How is the flow of traffic? What are basic essential necessities that people want? Even yung amount of water that people use can inform local officials how to institute measures to upgrade services. And next slide. These are some of the potential likelihoods for Makati. Well, we have a strong base, 24.15 billion. That's big. We already have a ICT command center and CCTV. So lalagyan na lang natin ng sensors yan. We have existing e-services already. We have strong partnership with tech firms, and our universities, like the University of Makati, have very, very strong intellectual capital, and then the political will. Other policy measures, if we go, so we can establish the Makati Smart City Development Office. We can allocate multi-year modernization fund. We can integrate IoT with artificial intelligence. We can encourage PPP. and align city plans with Dubai's green and clean energy strategy. And next, it's more of amplifying what I've said, but something that I want to also recommend. So we can go to the next slide, and maybe total mo wala na masyado. There's one bullet here that I want to emphasize a lot, which is really the appointment of a smart city czar. I've worked with government for the past 20 years already. Nothing really comes out if it's more of an interagency type. Ano? You really need a SAR to push for many of these things. You need somebody who has been bestowed the authority to push for this initiative, and that smart city SAR has the resources, the political legitimacy to be able to accomplish this. I think that's the end of the slide. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Bautista, for your talk. And again, please reserve your questions for the roundtable discussion. But again, to also put together, as short as we can, realistic tayo, the first presentation, Professor Ramos talked about what is currently happening. Dr. Bergania talked about what we could do, how we may push for self-regulation, considering that an evolution would be needed. Dr. Bautista is aspirational in his talk, that we could look at something greater and better so that we may be part of the solutions in helping put that together. And still on the subject of sustainability, we will proceed now to the fourth speaker. And some of you may have heard him before in several of the talks or workshops given by the Center for the University Research, but please allow me to introduce him. He is the top scientist of the Philippines with 415 Scopus publications and 368 in Web of Science. He is named one of the world's top 2 scientists in 2024 and 2025. His scientific work is hinged on creating evidence to influence global health policy and practice, improve the health of populations, and achieve global health equity. He also holds active academic positions at the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine and other universities in Asia, Africa, and Europe. He was a visiting scientist at the Harvard University and a professor in public health at the University of Liverpool. He is the Chief Scientific Officer of the Global Health Focus University Excellence, a global initiative of the Global Health Focus providing support and advice to governments and universities all over the world. He is the founding editor-in-chief of Public Health Challenges of Wiley, editor-in-chief of Recoletos, and is the deputy editor-in-chief of BMC Global Health Research and Policy, all top journals of the world. He finished his PhD in Global Health at Cardiff University, Master of Public Health at the Royal Tropical Institute in Amsterdam, MSc in Health Economics Policy and Law in Global Health at Erasmus University in Rotterdam, among his many other achievements. For this morning, he provides a comprehensive data-driven picture of how Philippine universities can contribute to the SDG agenda through scientific publications, international collaborations, and emerging thematic priorities. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Don Eliseo Lucerno Prisno III.
University officials and other leaders of the university, good morning. It's indeed an honor to be chosen as one of your professorial chair holders for the last year, and I'm here to give my the presentation of the report which I did for my research. So I am going to discuss what exactly are the universities in the Philippines doing to advance the SDGs. The UN SDGs are a transformative global agenda adopted in 2015, and there are many objectives, of which peace, prosperity, and sustainability are among them. And here in this paper, I'm going to look at what has been the progress and how higher education institutions in the Philippines are working on this, and how we are positioned as knowledge hubs to accelerate SDGs. And so we look at the historical development initiatives and the integration of the SDGs into governance as a recent growing trend, and of course, look at the research gap that exists in this field. And we very well know that the universities, higher education institutions, are the major producers of research of any country. So, the 23 Agenda for SDGs, you're very familiar with it, is just a continuation of the MDGs, which was established in 2000. And there are 17 Sustainable Development Goals. This was led by the United Nations, and 169 targets and various indicators. So there are 5 critical areas, which are the 5 Ps, where we separated the different 17 SDGs. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to integrate the role of the researches produced by all these universities in the Philippines and how they fit in the achievement of the SDGs. And there are these 5 principles. You have those SDGs which are focused on people and on prosperity, planet, peace, and partnership. These were all alluded to by the previous presentations. I like the logic and the flow of the presentations because we started with the university, and then we went on with education and another SDG and smart city. And then I sort of, probably in this last presentation of all the professorial lectures, I'm probably summarize a bit on all of these things. And lastly, of course, what I'm going to do is really situate the role of the university in achieving these national and global goals. So if we put them all together, they are a bit comprehensive, and there are interactions among the different SDGs, and I'm sure you're all familiar with this. And so what's exactly missing? That they say that no sustainable development without a sustainable population. So eventually it boils down to really the sustainability of the planet and all the aspects of it, including the population. Now, so there, as I said, there's an interrelationship among these SDGs, and this interrelationship can be seen in the research as being produced by the universities. And so categorizing the 17 SDGs by their impact on positive and negative externalities, we can see that they would reduce negative externalities and increase positive externalities for some of them. So that's the way we see the general landscape of SDGs. And you are all familiar with the THE impact ranking. So this is a barometer on how the universities really contribute to the SDGs. So I'm using this as example in my introduction to show how our HEIs are impacting on the SDG achievement of the world. And so this barometer would show where we are and how significant and impactful our universities are. And so we have these rankings. This is now a new ranking, and hopefully we will be included in the next ranking. I think the submission is now is this at this time. And so we all know that every paper that we produce, that we write, they are published in journals, and the journals should be indexed either in Scopus or Clarivate. I know there's a big issue now on this. especially for the promotion of those from the SUCs. But remember, Clarivate or Web of Science and Scopus are not the only indexing bodies. Yet, CHED is fixated on these two indexing bodies, which I do not really agree to because there are so many indexing bodies. And so there's now a big issue that the promotion is not really to promote but to demote our academics. So that's now what is coming out. And anyway, the ones being used as a barometer is the Scopus database. And that is the one being used for the impact ranking. So every paper that you publish, when it is published in the Scopus database, there's metadata that are being produced. And so every publication has a tag on what SDG they would contribute to. And so doing the data analytics done by QS and THE, that's where we can see that what the universities really do to impact on the SDGs. So that's the framework of the research that we're going to do using the Scopus database. And you're all familiar with Clarivate. For the other ranking, Clarivate is being used, and that would impact on the other rankings, which we don't really subscribe to. We just subscribe to QS and THE. And the rest, you're all familiar with the rankings, and they're all related to every paper that you write. And so, in the criteria for THE impact ranking, they look at heavily on the research. And the source of the research is a Scopus database, because that's a highly democratized and the biggest database on a collection of all researches as indexed by those journals indexed in the Scopus database. And when we join the ranking, you have to submit other documents which will show the stewardship and the outreach and the teaching. But a big part of it is it's very heavy on the research, of which every paper is tagged on what SDG it would contribute to. And so if we look at some of the metrics that they use for the ranking, if it is SDG 1, they look at our research on poverty. And so if we want to strategize the university to be very strong on some of the areas of the SDG, because THE ranking, impact ranking, is based on 3 major SDGs which you contribute to, and the partnerships, which is SDG 17. And so we have to re-strategize our research if we want to excel or to highlight, for example, smart city or education, and that's where we will emphasize our researches on, if that will be the strategy of the university. Because different universities have their own profiles. There are agricultural universities, there are engineering universities, and so to show that you are very good in the field where you want to be prominent on, so therefore you try to focus more or produce more research in that area. So that's just part of course, it might be cosmetic, but still it really creates a persona for the university. And so some of the metrics is really on research. For example, on clean water and sanitation, then we should be producing a lot of research on clean water. And affordable energy, same. And then, for example, if it's affordable and clean energy, we also have to submit our usage on energy use, whether we have low carbon energy use, we have solar panels, or we produce extra energy and contribute to the grid. So these are the ones that are being submitted. And for quality education, lifelong learning measures, it has been mentioned by the previous lectures. Are we really doing things on this? If we want to be prominent in the field of education, so probably we will strengthen our research and our activities on this, in this field. And so, health and well-being, I think this is where we are actually excelling. Later on, we will understand why. This is where we are producing a lot of papers. And gender equality. So there are many measures aside from research. The activities that we do are also submitted, and that is where we are going to really highlight on, depends on what we want. And so other SDGs, for example, research on life below water, probably it's not for us, unless we want to do more research on the Pasig River. I don't think we are focusing on that. That's our neighbor, the river. And sustainable cities and communities. I think this is where we should highlight on our work. We have been nominated for support of arts and heritage. That's very good highlight on SDG 11. Expenditure on arts and heritage and sustainable practices and being a smart city. So SDG 9, probably that's where University of Makati should be, where we should focus on research on industry, innovation, and infrastructure. And patents, probably we still have a lot of work to do on this. So as mentioned by the previous speaker, the previous speakers mentioned that you'll be doing work. With this lecture, you'll be doing much more work. Okay, so this is the bad thing with doing a lot of research because there are always recommendations. So these can be indicators on what the universities are being measured on based on the THE impact ranking. So I'm just using it because that's the framework that is easiest really to measure. And so as the other things, life on land, peace, justice, and strong institutions. Again, we are very good in this because of our school of governance. And so maybe we should produce more papers on this. Vice President Tapia has been writing papers on governance in food security, for example, for the book that I am editing. And of course, SDG 17, partnerships for the goals. We are very good on this because we have a lot of collaborations internationally. That is where University of Makati is strongest, your international collaborations. So we know that we are very strong on some of this. And so what I did with this study is that I investigated the role of selected Philippine universities in advancing UN SDGs. And so the method that I used is bibliometric analysis. I think I should be doing more trainings on this for everyone because this is the fastest method where you can produce data results just in a few minutes. So this is a good research wherein while you are doing your literature review for your master's or your PhD, you can publish already a paper which will be used for your graduation. Do not publish after you do your research because it will take you 1 to 2 more years before you graduate based on the CHED requirements. So we suggest do a bibliometric analysis during the literature part of your master or PhD program. So what do we do in bibliometric analysis? This actually just, well, it's not just, it's science mapping. We look at the landscape of research of that field, and we use software such as VOS Viewer. There's data analysis and visualization. First, there's data selection. We use Scopus for this one, but there are many databases, Lens, Dimension, OpenAlex. We can go through this in the workshops, which probably the research office will hold. And of course, you also have PubMed and Web of Science. But for this purpose, we use the Scopus database. And I understand that we are buying the Scopus database for the use of our students and faculty. So there is no more reason that we don't do research because this is the easiest method. And so that's a very expensive software, which is 2.5 million a year. So make use of it. And you will produce a lot of papers in a very fast manner. So we do data search and pre-processing, and I look at the SDGs for this matter. I did data extraction and data analysis and visualization. So bibliometric analysis, you can do so many things with it. And the good thing is, just with one click, you will have everything. And then what you just have to do is use softwares or AI to help you with the analysis. In fact, the results that will come out, there is already an AI that will explain the figures and tables. So I hope we'll have workshops on this with our research office. And so we use search string. By the way, you don't do this. It's actually ChatGPT which can do this for you. All you have to do is just tell ChatGPT, write for me a search string for this research that I am doing, and then it will produce this. You do not have to invent this anymore because everything can be assisted by AI, and that's why the AI is there for all of us to use. So it looks complicated, but actually you don't do much for this search string. So you feed this search string to the database. So first use it with ChatGPT and then bring it to Scopus or whichever database that you're going to use. And so these are the results of the data. We see an increasing trend in the research on SDGs in the Philippines. So from 2020 to 2024, we see an increasing trend in the publications. So that's very good. Publications being done by the universities, okay? And in terms of those who are the top 10 contributing authors to Sustainable Development Goals, so remember, this data is generated at once by the software. So the tables and figures are already ready. All you have to do is place it on your Word document, and then you already have your manuscript. In 2 to 3 days, you'll be finished. Of course, it doesn't mean that I finished the professorial chair in a few days, because we had other data that have been used for this specific research. So I'm just presenting one of the aspects of the overall professorial chair, which I did. And so these are the top 10 contributing authors on SDGs in the Philippines. You have the Vice President for Research of De La Salle. I follow. I'm the next one. My affiliation in the Scopus is University of the Philippines, so I'm tagged there as University of the Philippines. And many others. So if you would notice, it is De La Salle University which is producing a lot of papers which are tagged for SDG contribution. So you know very well that De La Salle has very big incentives, 200,000 for one Scopus Q1, Super Q1 paper. But I do understand that your incentives here are already increasing. So I hope our names will start appearing in the tables in the coming researches that we will be doing on bibliometric analysis. And there's only one from CTU, which came out in the analysis. And so we see that we can say that De La Salle University is really the one producing a lot of papers that will contribute to the SDG research in the Philippines. Now, when we do bibliometric coupling of authors, so bibliometric coupling is when you look at the authors and then you reveal the clusters of researchers who share references in their SDG-related publications. Remember, this is based on the metadata that we collected from the database. So we look at so some of the metadata would include keywords, references, journals, of course, affiliations, and we analyze them using the software. So this highlights the collaborative or thematic groupings among authors, including core contributors and their interconnected research interests within the Philippine context. So this will show that different authors are actually focusing on some areas of research. So that's bibliometric analysis. Meaning, there are biases among our researchers when it comes to the SDG research, and one of the clusters is that of Raymond Tan, who is in the field of information and communication technology and engineering. So that's how we look, that is one of the findings in this research. And bibliographic coupling of organizations. So these are now the interrelationships of the different organizations. So De La Salle comes out as the most prominent in terms of of the organizations. And these are all the different departments who are working together. So there are relationships. And there are smaller groups which are contributing, but they are not interrelated because the SDG that they are working on is totally different. So for example, there's one on health, the other is public health, but there's a big cluster on innovation and information communication technology and engineering. So that's one way of looking at the data. Now, for the co-citation analysis, these are, for those, of course, the SDG-related data. For the co-citation analysis, this shows which references are frequently cited together in the SDG literature originating from the Philippines. And so this analysis sheds light on the foundational works and key intellectual influences shaping SDG research discourse in the country. So co-citation analysis of sources frequently referenced in SDG-related reveals the intellectual structure and interdisciplinary influences of scholarly literature in the field. So at the center of the network, of course, we have +1, scientific reports, sustainability emerge as the dominant modes with the highest co-citation frequencies. So indicating that their broad relevance across multiple SDG domains. The size and density of clusters surround this core journal suggest high interconnectivity and shared thematic focus areas. So that will be the advantage when we buy the Scopus database. We can do a lot of research on whatever field that you can do, and we can have a lot of papers on this. When it comes to co-occurrence network visualization by author keywords, so keywords, they are very important in your research. So normally journals, we ask for 5 to 10 keywords, and they're very important because they are the ones being used to analyze on the interconnectedness of the keywords. So author keywords reveal distinct thematic patterns, clusters, reflecting key research areas. And so the largest and most central cluster, of course, is the Philippines, followed by public health, COVID-19, and depression. So in other words, these keywords show that most of the research is being done by universities are in the field of health. So that's the reason why also with the University of Makati, there's also a lot of papers being produced in the field of health. Overall, globally, there are 2 major research areas which are being produced by all universities, institutions, research centers all over the world. One is in the field of health and medicine, followed by information and communication technology. So they are the most produced publications, and of course, because they are more produced, there are many journals catering to that. So that is one of the strategies which you have to identify where you can easily probably publish related to your field. So in other words, here, another notable cluster is around environment and agricultural concerns. Keywords like rice, heavy metals, water quality, renewable energy, forming a red cluster. So the coloring is actually the clustering. So the blue color is in the field, so the red cluster is in the field of sustainable agriculture, environmental pollution, and the presence of terms such as microalgae, biofortification further supports a focus on innovative approaches to food security and environmental health. And there are many other clusters such as anti-inflammation, antioxidant, and cardiovascular diseases. And then there's another cluster which highlights online learning and inclusive education. So congratulations to those who are working in the field of education. You're also becoming more prominent in terms of research production in the Philippines. And when it comes to the relevant sources and themes, we can see that the top scholarly sources based on the number of documents is the Philippine Journal of Science, followed by the Journal of Public Health, and the Acta Medica Filipina. So 2 journals are Scopus journals from the Philippines. So we're always having problems and issues with finding the journals. We will keep on repeating the workshop on search for journals for all the faculty members so that we would know where we will publish easily, especially with the coming incentives in the coming years. And so these are the top 10 most relevant sources of SDG-related papers in the Philippines. It's not very clear. And conference proceedings also play a prominent role. So remember, there is Scopus Conference and there is the Scopus Journal. So those who are highly ranked, this is not in this lecture, we know that they publish a lot of papers in the Scopus conferences. So that is one of the strategies which we haven't really started as a university. Though people from faculty members from the ICT would publish in Scopus conferences. And so other notable sources include chemical engineer transactions and sustainability. Meaning sustainability is a major research area that the Philippines has been publishing on. And when it comes to, it's not very clear, the slides, because of the projector. When it comes to thematic map, it illustrates the landscape of research themes based on their relevance. So the centrality and development, the density. That's the way you analyze this data produced by VOS Viewer. It is divided into 4 quadrants: motor themes, niche themes, emerging or declining themes, and basic themes. And so in the motor themes quadrant, there is a high centrality and well-developed themes, such as female, male, humans, adult, and COVID-19. And in the dominant influential research, so these are the dominant influential research themes. The niche themes are conservation, convolutional neural networks, land use, and GIS. So we're almost there also as a university because we also use these themes. The basic ones are climate change, biodiversity, sustainability, developing countries, and water quality. And the emerging themes are support vector, nanotechnology, neural networks, Internet of Things, which was mentioned, and similar ones. When it comes to collaboration, it is the United States that the Philippine publications would collaborate with mostly. And then there's China, UK, Japan, and hopefully our collaborations with many other universities all over the world will help in the internationalization of our research, contributing to the internationalization of the university. So, and when it comes to the distribution of SDG-related publications, we can see that the majority of research outputs are concentrated in the fields of engineering technology, physical sciences, and clinical health. And so these are followed by life sciences, computer science, and many other fields as we go down to the ranking. So there's a concentration of this. And I just want to focus on my last few slides on University of Makati. We have been producing a lot of researches for the past year, especially this year. So I wish to congratulate you for the increase in the production of research. Very good that the university is now getting research intensive. And so our tags for our research, so you see that global health and well-being has the most number of documents, followed by reduced inequalities and climate action. So this is where we are becoming prominent on, followed by industry, innovation, and infrastructure. So hopefully these are the SDGs where we will be tagged next year for the THE impact ranking, because I'm very sure we will be included in the ranking next year. So that's based, so in other words, let us strategize as a university where we should focus on. And so probably our VP for Research would now have really more engagements on this, on where we will work on. And I also would like to congratulate you for being the #1 LUC for this year for the for the highest production of research. If if you will see the growth, so these are all the LUCs which we are monitoring. We started with very low in 2021, 2022, 23, and for 2025, for 24, you won the top producer of research. PLM came in later because they had one conference where they produced a lot of papers. So congratulations to the effort of the Vice President for Research, our University President, and of course to our research office and their staff. So, for my last slide, we have been increasing the research production of the university to the highest level so far. Look at the growth. It is very steep, which I am afraid of because we cannot bring it down. Well, not I'm afraid of, I'm challenged. We have to keep on increasing it. That's very, very high. So, our challenge is how to double that next year, because there are more papers coming in for this year. So my suggestion is, my recommendation is, our goal is to increase to THE level of 100 per year next year. 100 to 200, and with 100 already in the pipeline, I mean, for our goal, we can be QS Asia ranked. So our next goal is THE World University ranking eventually. So I hope you are with us, with the research office, that we produce more researches, and that's the challenge of Professor Rante, that next year, this will double or triple to the highest level. So and for the conclusion, these are the conclusions for the research. And so therefore, the landscape is changing. We are contributing as a university, and the Philippines is contributing to the SDGs. And I hope eventually this last presentation will really re-engineer our research, reinvigorate, and of course, we have to revisualize who we are as University of Makati for the benefit of the population. So thank you very much for listening.
Thank you very much, Dr. Prisno, for your presentation. And at this point, I'd like to invite once again our professorial chair presenters this morning. So Professor Ramos, please join us again on stage. Dr. Bergania, Dr. Bautista, and once again, Dr. Prisno, so that we could open the floor officially for the open forum. So I think we will be given 30 minutes for this. I'm sure you have been reserving your questions. And for our presenters, there are microphones in the middle that we could use for our audience. Please use the microphone in the middle. Please introduce yourselves as well for the benefit of our presenters, along with the colleges or centers that you represent. So yes, to concur also with everybody's comments, there's a lot of work to do. You know, Professor Ramos began with a realistic view of our Philippine setting. Dr. Bergania reminded us that we have to push for self-regulation. Again, there were aspirational goals in mind as Dr. Bautista presented his benchmark with Dubai. But at the same time, we're brought back home and back to reality as well with the nitty-gritty that we have to do in order to, one, I hope help solve these problems, and two, maybe make it central to the University of Makati. I hope that this morning we also bring in our thoughts or our reflections on how is this important or impactful for our university. So we're opening the floor to questions. Please approach the middle of the aisle if you are ready. But as we wait, maybe I could give the first one to to Professor Ramos, to our university president. So based on your presentation earlier, there were 5 recommendations that we could do to improve the education in the Philippine setting. Those recommendations, do they come in hierarchy? Should they be done simultaneously, or do you assess or believe that there is one out of the 5 that we should do first and foremost, sir? We need a little help with the tech team. Thank you very much.
Ayan, ito. So thank you very much, Camille, for the question. So those recommendations are interdependent from one another. We can actually work on those recommendations interdependently, but they are interconnected. Okay, like for example, when we talk about encouraging the local government units, and this is one thing that we have continuously asked from the city government of Makati, to make the University of Makati as part of the research arm of the city. Especially the office of Dr. Engineer Merlina Panganiban on UDD, because we can actually contribute a lot, especially to the development goals of the city. In fact, when they also meet and chart programs specifically in partnership with the local industries that are available in the city, it's also good to know what these industries are actually looking for, so that the university can also plan its programs as to the employment needs of the city. Now, of course, when I talk about this, I said this can be interdependent, or rather can be done, simultaneously, but they are interdependent from one another. Because while doing this, we can also start working on our curriculum. So there's really that this one should come ahead of the other, but basically they can be done simultaneously. There's really no sequencing that has to be done. So these are recommendations that we would like to implement. But more than these recommendations, I think the 5th one, when we implement the reimagined program for the University of Makati's JUICE, there's also a lot of work to be done here in the institutional level as well, together with our partners. And one critical issue there is we have to agree on a certain level of quality. And when you talk about quality, it cannot be different. When we agree on a certain level of quality, if we're talking about the standard, it has to be something that must be acceptable to both parties. So, tama nga yung sabi kanina, maraming trabaho, but we can do this, simultaneously, all at the same time.
Thank you, Professor Ramos. I believe our university secretary has a question. I also saw the hand of our Vice President for Finance, also acknowledging your presence, sir. He's been here since earlier, but choosing to sit at the audience because he will ask questions. VP Ivan, good morning. I also saw your hand, Dr. Lot. I will call you after VP Ivan. University Secretary, go ahead.
Good morning, everyone. This question is for President Ramos. As LUC President and part of the EDCOM, what bold recommendation for the government can you propose to realize those reimagined, redesigned, and rebuilt JUICE program of the university?
Currently, it also touched on the presentation of Dr. Berganya. One of the things that we are actually working on is a new diagram for the Philippine Qualifications Framework. In fact, magdadalawang buwan na kaming nagmi-meeting, pinagtatalunan diagram pa lang. But what is the significance of this, no, to address the question of USEC Juvie? Basically, you tag. If you are a senior high school graduate, for example, you should already, part of the requirement as part of the diagram, and you should already have an NC level certification. We have already started that even before TESDA and DepEd agreed that that is something that can be available for those who are taking a TVL track. But what we have done is we are doing it regardless of your senior high school track. Kasi sabi ko, ano naman ang mawawala sa'yo kung ABM ka kaso meron kang NC in cookery? Diba? Karagdagang kaalaman naman yon na marunong kang magluto. So, the approach there is really a continuous dialogue with government agencies. It would have been unheard of in the past that those three government agencies tasked in education, DepEd, TESDA, and also CHED, talking with each other. But now that they are talking, the challenge now is to expand it to other agencies as well. Like, for example, how can we properly implement this if we will also not include, let's say, the Civil Service Commission, which sets certain requirements on how actually we are to operate as an institution. Not only the Civil Service Commission, there are also several Republic Acts or laws. Like, for example, in nursing profession, the CMO of CHED does not require a master's degree for you to teach. But the law on nursing actually says that you have to have a master's degree for you to be able to teach. So there should be continuous dialogue to actually align all of these efforts, especially for government to be able to, especially for us as an LUC, to be able to act on these recommendations that I just mentioned. Kasi sabi ko nga yung experience ko when I talked with DG Kiko, I asked him this question, sabi ko sa kanya, what if we have a certificate coming from Jollibee? Okay? Because we have a partnership, di ba, in the past with Jollibee, which we are trying to revive again. We have a certificate coming from Jollibee that they trained our CTHM students. And if I were an employer, which is more valuable? The certificate coming from Jollibee or an NC from TESDA? Okay. The answer is very obvious. It is the one that came from the industry. So I asked him, can the certificate from Jollibee awarded to our students who did a training program with them be considered already automatically an NC4 from TESDA? So that in an equivalency modality. And I shared earlier the answer. His answer to me was, you know, X, even if Jollibee is the leader, we cannot be company or product agnostic. It has to be, you know, an industry certification. But the problem with industry organizations or industry groups here in the Philippines, it's really more like an old boys club. It's more like a country club, unlike the industry boards in other countries, more particularly in Europe. Okay? So there's still a lot of conversation that needs to be done, but the good thing is there is openness for dialogue, and hopefully, you know, we might see in the near future that this dialogue will actually result to this complementarity. So right now, as mentioned by Dr. Berganya, we're starting in with the college with education. They're now profiling educational institutions offering education degrees and weeding out those who are not producing board passers. So if we continue that dialogue and if we continue that conversation, then eventually they might say, oh, if you are a graduate of this institution known for quality, for producing quality teachers, then automatically you can be granted this, not necessarily a center of excellence, a center of development, but there are corresponding benefits that you can get because of what you are doing that can come from the government. So that's basically part of it, but we have too much laws already that sometimes they contradict and they conflict with each other. So it's really a review of the things that we're actually currently doing. Yeah. So thank you. I hope I answered the question.
Thank you, Professor Ramos and USEC Juvie. Calling VP Ivan for his question.
Yes, sir. It's more of a comment rather than a question. Yung kay Sir Ramos, una, I feel there would be a need to
Please,
policy.
yes. And Tech Health, thank you.
Parang to change, there are policy implications on the passport system. Parang kasi di ba, all local universities and colleges required a residency. So if one student transfers from one locality to another, so that deprives one slot for a resident. So that's I do not know how far the passport system have been thought out. That's one. Secondly is, from my experience as an engineering student, pag ang estudyante nakakuha ng tres like calculus, pinapaulit talaga. So and I think there might be a need to establish learning competencies ay acceptable, standardized talaga. I do not know. And again, I do not know how far the body thinking about passport system has thought this out. Okay, that's the second comment. For Dr. Breganya naman, I feel his proposal on the rigors for grad school, medyo may gender issues doon. Sa ngayon kasi, the teaching profession is female-dominated, yet the managers, the middle managers, the administrators, marami, lalaki. So, women, di ba, joke nga pag nagturo ka, tako tatandang dalaga ka. So, that's one. Second is, yun nga, when you're married, you have to balance school work and your role as a mother and a wife. So, I do not know if kung napag-isipang mabuti yung I think there's a need to think things through yung regarding sa rigors of grad school, kasi it might discourage married women to pursue grad school. Yun lang. Thank you.
Thank you, VP Ivan. So, would you like a reaction to give your reactions to or responses to VP Ivan before I call on Dr. De Leon? Sorry, Dr. De La Cruz. Forgive me, Doc Lot. So, no comments for the meantime. We can reserve it, and maybe they will give their final words. They could probably include their responses in their final words. I'm sorry, Doc De Leon. Dr. De La Cruz. Huwag po kayo magalit. Pa 12 noon na po kasi, hindi pa po ako nagkakape.
Hello. Wala talaga. Hello. I have two opinions. Actually, medyo opinionated ako sa dalawa. And
Doc,
two questions.
hold on po.
So, apat
Tech
sila
help,
sakto.
please. Tech help.
Hello. For our press X, actually, comment ko lang, sir, dun sa, I'm into micro credentialing. Kakampi mo ko dyan, alam mo yan. No? Sa disaster risk, I'm preparing the executive program already as recommended by the RRMO Makati. Ang opinion ko lang doon sa, I like that na sana kung pwedeng Jollibee na lang ang mag-certify instead na kukuha pa ng NC, kasi nga tayo mismo, hirap tayo doon sa mga lecturers natin na walang NC at walang TM. Okay? Kaya lang there is such thing as standard measure. That's the purpose of NC. Kaya mahihirapan talaga tayong i-promote yan dahil palaging ang hinahanap. Kasi there could be skills or competencies developed by the students sa Jollibee na hindi necessary with other or from other fast food depending on their trusts. Kaya kailangan talaga yung measure ng qualification is standardized. Okay, that's only my opinion. For my friend Doc J, I love you Doc J, pero may tanong ako with all due respect. Why you did not consider collecting data or information from the students to affirm the findings from the faculty? And so, todo ko na para isang ano na lang. Why include PQF in your recommendation in the absence of data or information from your respondents about PQF? Yun. Tapos, pwede para diretso na, para iuupo na ako. O sasagot na muna siya.
Go ahead, para po.
Oh, ayan
What's
na
your
naman
pleasure,
siya.
ma'am?
But would it be for the other speakers?
Yes.
Okay, for the other speakers. Go ahead.
That's for Doc J. For Doc Lloyd, you don't remember me, pero magkasama tayo sa executive program when we started it with Doc Ed. Do you have other literature of other smart cities criteria of their, being smart cities? So, parang mas maging reliable yung criteria set by Dubai if other cities who claim they are also practicing the smart, or they have the presence of smart characteristics na, kasi, of course, I understand na major variable mo yung Dubai. Pero siguro it could be better na supported siya ng ibang smart cities claiming na these are also the criteria that they are observing. Okay, yun lang po yung additional literature for that. And sir, this is the first time I met you, Dr. Prisno. I understand that bibliographic research design is really very, very new and very helpful. But I guess, as a research enthusiast and a lecturer myself, from the very obvious approaches ng quali-quanti, this is my opinion. You can counter it. Actually, this is a free country. Bibliographic research is more of a tool or a technique or strategy which could be used either in a quali or quanti approach. Yun lang yung opinion ko. So I have only 2 questions and the other 2 are just merely my self-opinionated ideas. Thank you.
Thank you, Doc Lot.
Yeah. The first question was about why did not include the students as part of the respondents. That's an area for future study. And I mentioned that in my recommendation. The research focused only on the faculty members as respondents and only within the university. So that was set on the scope and the limitation of the research. So that opens for future researchers out there. You might want to do the same research in other universities, including more variables. And then for the PQF, yung tanong ba, Ma'am Lot, ay bakit hindi sinama yung insight ng faculty sa PQF? Yeah. The PQF was only used as basis to set the standards as a publicly open and available framework that sets the qualification or standardized qualification across the different types of students or completers. So they have a set of standard that is accessible at yun naman ang ginamit natin at binangga natin sa CMO when in fact it's PQF that was the basis of that CMO.
Oh, thank you, Ma'am Lot, for that question. In fact, that's a very interesting question, and I like that question. The thing about Smart City Initiative, you're right, there are different stages of development. And in that literature, I showed where some cities are. So I was trying to look for a real good benchmark. Yung parang, when we look at benchmark, what is there that we want to really aspire for? What I did in the literature is I exposed some of the challenges and problems that many cities went through when they want to be a smart city. There's also a United Nations definition of what a smart city is. So parang benchmark siya. Thus, each city will have their own phases. But I think the Dubai is a clear example of what aspirable smart city is. So I'll try to look at your question and maybe look at some other cities that might fit that definition. Thank you.
You want to respond to that?
Yeah. Thank you very much for the question. So when we say quanti, we focus on numbers. When quali, we focus on words, figures, and non-numerical. So those are the two major. Now, bibliometric analysis is a research design also. It can also be an approach. And it's one of the innovative new methods. By the way, methods are changing. That's why if you're teaching methods or research, there's a need to keep on getting more abreast with the different innovations, advancements in research method. But the definition of research does not change. It's the method that is changing. So you have mixed methods, Delphi, and way advanced more methods. And bibliometric analysis is landscaping only of science. If you need to look at the different details, for example, then you go to reviews. So you have systematic analysis and meta-analysis, systematic reviews and meta-analysis, all kinds of review papers. So that is one of the that is how I'm going to respond to that question. So it's only used for landscaping of science. That's bibliometric analysis.
Sorry, because it's a follow-up question, VP. It's also connected. Sorry. Beauty before birthday. Or birthday before beauty.
Before other beauty.
Okay, sorry. Are we giving way? Okay. VP.
So follow-up question lang, no, Sir Don, with regards to that. Do you think it would be fair and would it be acceptable to do chapter 2, say the review, part of the proposal, to apply evidence-based analysis or evidence-based review, like apply systematic bibliometric analysis as we do the chapter 2? Can we do it as like a standard so that it's also one way of increasing also or producing publishable works?
Okay, good question. Bibliometric analysis is already a research method. So you're already producing a research in itself. In fact, now, review of related literature is already publishable, and it's a review paper. But for the purposes of master's or PhD, review of literature as part of the thesis or dissertation is purely review of literature. You are not yet really going deep in doing the analysis because you're already introducing methods. So you have to demarcate the purpose of that. But you can publish your review of related literature as a publication, then you have one publication at once. If that's what you're saying, yes. Either as review of kaya nga yung sinasabi ko, para sa CHED requirement, pag-publish yun na kaagad ang estudyante, kasi it will take, pag pinatapos mo ang research, it will take 1 to 2 years before a publication will come out. So doon mo na unahin. Hindi naman sinabi, publish your research output. Publish lang anything related to the PhD. So hindi kasi alam yung technical working group kung anong pating definition ng kailangan scopus lang. To be honest, hindi naman kailangan scopus lang eh. Kasi ang daming mga indexing bodies, pinapahirapan lang ang ating mga faculty members sa buong country.
VP Ed.
Walang mikropono eh.
Sorry, tech team, may we also help with the microphones in the middle? Thank you.
Now the other beauty will speak.
the first 2 points now, I'd like to go back to what Ivan was saying earlier about perhaps using a gendered lens in understanding the recommendations of Dean J. Sa akin lang, no, I really don't understand how we can work around the requirements of rigor invoking gender as a debilitating factor. Perhaps we should expand the analysis to make it more sophisticated. Kasi sa akin, pantamad yun eh. Parang goes back into the very question of affirmative action. Palagi na lang bang ganon? Affirmative action. And I think, to be fair to many of the administrators in the university, many of them are married with kids. And I'm not going to invoke the number of kids of Ma'am Juvie because of data privacy. They've been very, very good about doing their function. So medyo, I'm not convinced about the gender card with respect to the questions of rigor. Okay? That's one. The other thing is with bibliometric analysis, guys, that's not new. That's as old as time itself. In our field, Lloyd, the dissertation of Danilo Reyes, which was written in the 90s, was heavily based on a bibliometric analysis. Of course, he did not call it bibliometric analysis then. It had a different terminology, but it is bibliometric analysis. And perhaps linking it with the comment of VP Net, Chapter 2 is also bibliometric analysis, may be reduced by about 30%. Because when you do bibliometric analysis, you link it with perhaps trends, pathways, variants, indicative of certain developments. In the case of the dissertation of Danny Reyes, he linked it with the trajectory of the discipline of public administration from the publication of the Philippine Journal of Public Administration in 1952 to about 1990. So he was able to develop some kind of two broad directions. One that is internally driven, yung bang looking at efficiency, etc., and one that was more externally driven. At that time, globalization was not yet a major theoretical construct, if you will. So, I don't think it's really new eh. It's really, yun na nga lang, manual nga. But now, andali na lang. And I've seen a bibliometric analysis that was done by Ed Araral from NUS, also doing it. Kaya lang sabi ko nga, perhaps Danny Reyes would be, sorry for the non-public people, would be scratching his head. Kasi what he did over perhaps a 2-year period writing his dissertation can already be accomplished by a matter of minutes. But why do we complain? That's the beauty of technology, di ba? So, did I make sense? But anyway, thank you.
Thank you, VP Ed. So, for the order of the next round of questions, we have Sir Duke, Dr. Lambohon, and then Dr. Browner, just so we are fair to everyone. Go ahead, Sir Duke.
Hello po, good morning. Rather, good afternoon to our audience and definitely to our wonderful speakers in front. Thank you for acknowledging my question po, ma'am. I hope that me asking a question is not outside of my expertise. I'm asking a question po sana to our very wonderful President, Dr. Ramos. Rather, I'm asking this question based on my understanding of what he said, and of course, to the consensus of what the other speakers said. So, first and foremost, as someone who just graduated, and someone who would like to share a student's perspective on how much we actually know, I'd like to ask, based on the research and experience, especially on the DUCE model, I believe that from what was discussed earlier, there were different challenges that were discussed, of course, but most of the challenges actually did not seem like they were technical challenges. Rather, the challenges are more structural. Because when I say the word technical, I think that the challenges in itself, yung diniscuss po kanina, are actually feasible. We're not just talking out of ideals anymore. With the current level of technology and the society we live in today, definitely all of this is possible. Even the passport system is possible, and it'll definitely help a lot of students. So I'd like to ask, from that perspective, given that a lot of higher educational institutions rely significantly on tuition or long-term enrollment for financial sustainability, do you think that the option of having micro-credentials, credential portability, and easy course transfers are something that are going to be perceived as financially risky or a barrier to this wonderful implementation that we're trying to have? And if so, what strategies can these institutions do to be able to make this possible, as well as what advice? I say the word advice because as students, we also have to do our part. It's not just about the institutions, we also have to do our part as students. So as students, I know that the learning styles are different, how we perceive knowledge is different, and how we apply that knowledge is different. So as a general advice, what can you give to students so that they can do their part when we make innovations like these, when we do innovations like these, so that they're not wasted, so that we'll be able to continue to nurture and to foster whatever it is we're trying to build? So that's my question po. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the question. No? By the way, Duke is my son. He just graduated from the University of Makati, and he took up nursing, and actually excitedly waiting for the results of the board exams, which will come out next week. So, you know, as part of EDCOM, we are currently working on 2 final reports. One is the Workforce Development Plan, and the other one is the National Education Plan. Okay. Ang dami kasi kanina, binanggit din ni Sir Lloyd, di ba? Anong plano? What is the vision for our country? Like for example, in education, have we really examined as a country what do we need? Do we need more doctors? Do we need more lawyers? Do we need more teachers? Do we need more engineers? Walang nakakaalam ng sagot. Okay? Ngayon pa lang siya ginagawa. At syempre, kailangan i-align mo yon doon sa Workforce Development Plan. Okay. So, currently, part of our process, and I'm sure a lot of you here are familiar with this, we did an exercise on futures thinking. And one of the items that came out that will shape Philippine education is, relevant pa ba ang higher educational institutions? Because of micro-credentials, because of lifelong learning, because of technology. Sabi nga kanina, di ba? Hahanapin pa ba ng employer ang diploma o ang titignan niya ang skill mo? Okay? Yun ang tanong ngayon. Ano ba ang relevant sa kanila? Yung diploma mo o kung ano yung kaya mong gawin? And to address that question, the answer is really, we have to actually work on continuously learning. Because what you learn in school, actually by the time that you graduate, might not be relevant anymore, and we might be actually preparing you for jobs that are not yet created. So, even in the field of nursing, there are new technologies coming out. In the field of medicine, for example, I know that in the US, they developed an AI tool that is already part of the medical diagnostics team. That they would ask the AI, you know, what would be, after running all the tests, what would be the best course of treatment? And the doctor will just be there to validate whether it is the best course of treatment or not. Okay? So continuous learning is really the challenge. And that is why part of the diagram that we mentioned that I mentioned earlier. It's not enough that the industry helps us in developing curriculum and teaching it, but also for industry to also work with us in identifying which skills will they be looking for, and help us develop pockets of this, because it cuts across all disciplines, regardless of whether you are in healthcare, whether you are in business, whether you are in engineering. These skills will cut across. Okay, so I think that's the response that I can give, and hopefully we're on the right track in the University of Makati in actually doing this. And this exercise alone, no, having this lecture series, having this professorial chair lecture series, actually already tickling the mind of everyone here, right? How can we be a smart city? How can we increase the body of knowledge to research generation here in the university? How can we, reframe and redesign a new way of teaching and learning in the university? So these are things that we are currently doing. So I think that's the best thing that we can do as an educational institution, not to rest on our laurels, but actually continuously look for means and ways to be able to improve ourselves, especially to our stakeholders.
Thank you. Dr. Bragana would like to add.
I'll just add from what the President mentioned. I think we have to be very clear. While it's true that the University of Makati was created not to provide jobs, let's not only remember that it is jobs that we are training our students for. What's going to happen if we are only experts in preparing them for the job, but they don't have the right attitude, they don't have the right mindset, and the right behavior? So I think it has to be a balance of both. For teachers, that's a challenge, and for students, you need to help us also do that, because a lot of work also relies on you. Thank you.
Go ahead, Dr. Bautista.
This is just a short response. I like the concept of micro-credentials. In fact, my son, so he was planning to take a master's. Sabi ko sa kanya, Dad, I think that's a good pathway for you. You take your master's. Medyo magastos yung master's niya, the Asian Institute of Management, magastos pag it costs your arm, your leg. Sabi niya sa akin, I'll just take my short courses, upskilling me, and I know I'll get promoted. And I said, yeah, I mean, you take those short courses. But the value of a higher degree, I surmise, is the resilience, the grit that we don't see. I'm sorry, we don't see in the young generation. Dr. Ed, Dr. Banaya, Dr. Rex Ramos will reinforce that. Yung you go to your class and you enroll and you go to that class is what employers want. That you won't give up when you fail, that you keep on going, that there's a purpose. When Ed and I were in the University of the Philippines, mag-enroll lang, napakahirap. So, but your generation kasi is different. Even my son would say, you don't need to work hard, you just have to work smart. But your bosses are not your generation eh. Yun yung problema. Yung sabi ko, your boss, I would tell my son, is my age. So how would you convince me that you're just going to work smart and not hard? Tanggal kita, tatanggalin kita, diba? So there's a clash of values there, no? But micro-credentials, all of these pathways are there. You improve yourself. I also like the idea that someday industries will also help out in accreditation. But we need a standard. And in the field of governance, talagang government provides that standard, diba? That the referee, so to speak. Now, maybe in the next researches, I would suggest, maybe you can look at technology colleges. It's very strong in the United Kingdom. Parang the approach is really not a academic degree, but it's a college degree, pero more on technology, more on preparing students, equipping them, making them good with their motor skills, diba? But the attitude is important. I believe that's really important. The grit, the determination, the resilience. You get that from a degree. You get that. Yung dealing with classmates, diba ganun naman sa trabaho, sir. You cannot simply get skills, then sa workplace, ang hirap makipag-deal sa kapwa. That, you start that from your first year, second year, third year, fourth year. All of that is a preparation for the real life of working. That's it.
Thank you, Dr. Bautista. So I could now proceed with Dr. Lambohon, who has been patiently waiting to be able to ask his question. Go ahead.
Actually, it's not a question, but it's something that my heart really kanina pa kumakabog, no? So I just want to say thank you very much to Press X, BP Tapia, Dr. Prisno, and Rante here. Now, why? For giving us the experience of having this kind of experience, no? Nagsimula si Dr. Priest na nagbigay siya sa amin ng yung mga kung ano-anong mga paano paggawa, pag ganito, di ba? Ang dami, no? And because of that, in our department, we were able to create a better paper. And nag-submit kami kung saan yung may mga paper presentation. And I'm very proud to say to the body, at binigyan kami ng pamasahe, binigyan kami ng pera na para masuportahan. 2 of our students will be presenting their paper in Hong Kong. And 2 of our faculty also will be presenting their paper. So this is the product of all the hardships of Serante. Pagturo sa kung paano gagawin talaga yung mga nitty-gritty, no? So yeah, Serante is very strict, but we have to follow so that we can produce what we really need to produce. And thank you very much for the University of Makati for giving us this chance, no? So ito yung the real output and the product of the efforts of the university to make the university share the knowledge that we want to contribute to the existing body of knowledge in the field of whatever, health or education. And for that, thank you very much.
Thank you for your testimony, Dr. Lambohon. Dr. Browner, your turn. Thank you.
Kanina pa ako ichiha, Professor Lamboyan, ha? By the way, I'm going home to my little home with a full mind, okay, today. And, you know, I've been steered by that bibliometric method. Sabi ko nga, ang realization doon ko, ginagawa namin doon noon, kailang manual, sir. Eh ngayon, mas mabilis na ngayon. But we were doing that. Let me share you one program that I've been through in my academic work. We had a subject wherein we only had 5 meetings, okay, for a 54-hour instruction. What was given to us during the first day was a list of readings, no syllabus, no OBTL plan. But the challenge that was given to us was that we had to read this, so independent study, no, was the pedagogy that was, you know, that was exercised at the doctoral level, with the intention really that we are there. The program is able to develop authorities in the field. So independent study was exercised, decision making was exercised, prioritization was exercised. So a list of books, no, with no explanation whatsoever from the professor. Okay? So what we did, we had to be very creative. So there were occasions wherein there were 32 of us in the class. There were occasions wherein you had to do your own independent work. There were occasions wherein we would agree among ourselves, either on a dyad, triad, to work together and read together. And at the end of the course, we were asked to submit review, chapter 2 already. Yung pala yung chapter 2 na, no? Yung review of related literature on the key concepts that were culled from the different readings that we have gone through. So probably, VP, we can explore that as a possible exercise at the doctoral level, aside from those bits and bits, requirements. And it also dawned in my mind now that I think in my doctoral class, probably I can now require specific researches for each course, so that will, yeah, that's true, because what will make you an authority is really for you to be well informed. Reading is the what, especially now with the advent of technology, research should be made faster. You're right, no? So yun po ang aking 6 cents worth na napag-aralan ngayong umagang ito. And thank you, because I will also require my doctoral students to attend all this lecture series. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Browner, for your thoughts on it, along with the things that we will all have to do if you are under Dr. Browner's class. So I think we still have 7 minutes to go for other questions if you may have. And if none, maybe before I request the final words from our presenters for today, for Dr. Bautista, I think I was having a conversation with Sir Rante the other day about, well, our Philippine setup right now and how, as a democracy, we seem to be quite messy at the moment. Do you think that Dubai's shift from 1999 to present, is that because there's a difference in government styles? You talked about leadership earlier. Was that a factor, you think, that they had a different form of government? Because as part of our conversation, one of our comments was, or at least it was my comment, I think Filipinos don't know how to be in a democratic country in a way. You can get mad at me for that. That's your own opinion. But I think it's very much in touch also with your self-regulation. You talk about self-regulation in pedagogy, in learning, but for our day-to-day, do we really practice that? Are we eutagogic in our practice for day-to-day? So those are things that we could think about. And for everyone, I still would like to go back to the 5.5-year learning gap that Professor Ramos presented. There are research is academic in nature. Dr. Bautista pointed out that we should identify the statement of the problem, and we've been identifying that actually. Would we still really be able to see hope and really solve the 5.5-year learning gap that the Philippines is currently in, with the different areas of specialization that you all hold? So, yun po. Please include that in your final words as well. Request po yun, request. So,
final words. Okay. First of all, thank you very much for choosing me to be a part of the professorial shareholders. One, if you noticed, even if the holders are very busy people, they're able to produce the research, and hopefully they'll be published. So in other words, let's probably change our paradigm so that we'll be producing more papers, because we really need to make, I believe it, University of Makati a research-intensive university. That's one realization. Two, in other countries, professorial chairs are very expensive. In fact, if you noticed, former Speaker Romualdez donated $2 million to Harvard University just to set up professorial chair in Philippine studies or something. So probably it's about time for the industry in Makati to set up the chairs and peg it at a certain amount. At Harvard, to set up a professorial chair, the minimum is $1 million US. That's how prestigious it is. And lastly, for my last comments is, I really want to, since I've been engaging with the university in terms of research, And to be honest, we've been working a lot with the Vice President for Research, with the President, and with Director Rante. That is the reason why there's a there's a very high increase in research, because I believe in you faculty members. If we only produce even just one publication in a year, multiplied by the number of faculty members, we can be as fast as the top universities of the Philippines. So I hope these professorial chairs really open up our eyes, that let us all embrace the concept of being a research-intensive university. Thank you.
So, my final words will actually focus on a story that I actually shared to some of the MANCOM members. When we were in the US for the EdCom study tour, we were in Harvard. And, there is a Filipina who is an overseer of Harvard, this Geraldine Acuña Sunshine. So she's a member of the Board of Trustees of Harvard. And she was able to arrange actually meetings with esteemed professors in Harvard when we were there. And I was really amazed because there were these two professors, and there was a topic, and the topic was if they will still continue having like an admissions exam or something like that, to that effect, no? An entrance exam to go into Harvard, because it was suspended during the pandemic. And both of them were actually arguing, but it was an intellectual argument. To the point that when they ask, kanino ka papabor? Hindi mo alam kung kanino. Because they were really giving very good points as to, their reason why one is for the other, why is that person's stand is on this. And this exercise actually, actually stirred that emotion in me. Now, I hope that every one of us here will be able to experience and will be able to have an opportunity, to have this kind of exercise, no? Because as academics, which most of us are, ito dapat talaga isa sa mga ginagawa natin sa pinag-a-aspire natin. And this early, sasabihin ko na nga, kasi nabanggit ko yung Harvard, nabanggit din ni Dr. Prisno yung Harvard. Next year, we're organizing a team from UMak to go and visit Harvard. Okay? And hopefully, some of the persons here might be included in that study visit. And we already got a sponsor for that to fund that trip. Okay? But hopefully, sabi ko nga, pagbalik, you will also, your mind and your imagination will also be tickled, and we can also see you as one of the professorial lecturers actually sharing, an idea, a concept, or something, even crazy, that can actually, change the landscape, not only of Philippine education, but our country in general. So, yeah, thank you.
Thank you, President. Yung sa akin, very short eh. And your context is what's happening right now to our country. It's a bit messy. I think one thing that you notice in many countries, irregardless of their system, whether it's a hybrid of democracy, authoritarianism, or maybe fully democratic, diba? I think one of the things that they have is a visualization of where they want to go as a nation state. Yun yung medyo, at this time, parang, as academics, we know what we want to become. We want to become a middle-income country by 2040. Poverty will reduce from 15% to less than 1%. We want our per capita to increase from 3,500 to 12,000 US dollars. We all know that as academics because we study that. Pero hindi makita ng ordinary Filipino yon, yung where we are right now and where we want to go. In Singapore, Lee Kuan Yew said it very simple. We want our country from a third world to a first world country. Everybody understood it. So I think there's a need to visualize this to our people. The second, which is the most important part, is each of our major institutions in society, political institutions, economic institutions, the military, and then us, the academe, should painstakingly work, put our energies to where we're good at. Diba? If we're really good at education, research, ano yung byproduct ng research? I think it's not research because we produce a piece of paper. I think research is a byproduct of the books, the content that our students will use. It's a byproduct of case studies that we can discuss in graduate schools. It's a byproduct of what President said, ideas, crazy as they may seem. What are these ideas that we can share in society? And more importantly, I think the reason why we have the academia is because in any highly civilized society, there should be an intellectual capital that propels growth. Yun yung nagdadala ng economic sustainable development that we have right now. Ideas like renewable energy, ideas like one day we don't need fiber optics, pwede na by satellite ang internet. All of that came from the university. If you trace the origin, tapos kinommercialize na lang ng industry. So they work hand in hand. Diba? So I think what we're doing, President, is good. This is the place for crazy people. Diba? Crazy people to think of all of this idea and to make society better.
First of all, thank you very much, University of Makati, for having me as one of the presenters and as one of the awardees. What Dr. Browner shared earlier is a perfect representation of what Utagogy is. That is student-centered, that is non-linear, that is capability and capacity building, and that has a lot of reflection, which is double loop learning. Now, with my closing, and to answer the question of Camille, and maybe to also glean on the question earlier, I'd like to use the concept or the construct of commitment. It's no longer a question of what the vision is because it's already crystal clear. It's no longer a question of, do we have the facility? Do we have the funds? Do we have the talents? They are no longer the question. The question now is the level of commitment because that's where we vary. Now, if we are true to what our gums are saying, it will require commitment. Do you call yourself an expert? What's your level of commitment? Do we call UMak as the #1 LUC? What's the level of commitment? And so I hope that we give birth to that level of commitment that we will be true to what we want to claim. And thank you very much for having this session because maybe we can give birth to more of this in the coming days. Salamat po.
And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, I think they deserve a bigger round of applause than the one we're giving right now. Let's give our presenters our claps. And also, we also want to thank the College of Continuing Advanced and Professional Studies here in the University of Makati for organizing this for everyone. Please give them also a huge round of applause. So, maraming salamat po sa ating presenters at marami pa po tayong lahat na gagawin. But before anything else, let's be true to what our gums are saying, and our gums are saying it's lunchtime. So have a good lunchtime, everyone. Maraming salamat. And the certificates daw po will be perhaps emailed to or given to you by CCAPS for sustainability. And are there other sorry. My apologies on that one. So may I call Professor Pom to hand it out? Sorry. So, okay. Sige, I'm asked to read this. And maybe the management committee can please come and join us on stage. Yes. So, the Tomas B. Lopez Jr. Professorial Chair in Education 2024 is proudly awarded to Professor Alexor C. Ramos, PhD, in recognition of his outstanding academic excellence, exemplary scholarship, and unwavering commitment to advancing higher education through instruction, research, and public service. Given this 19th day of November 2025 at the University of Makati, Taguig City, signed Professor Ederson D.T. Tapia, DPA, Dean of the College of Continuing Advanced and Professional Studies, and concurrent Vice President for Academic Affairs. So the committee members are requested to join on stage. Also presenting the University of Makati Professorial Chair 2024. Proudly awarded to Professor Jason Bergania, EDD, in recognition of his outstanding academic excellence, exemplary scholarship, and unwavering commitment to advancing higher education through instruction, research, and public service. Given this 19th day of November 2025, the University of Makati, Taguig City, signed Professor Alexor C. Ramos, PhD, CESE, University President. Also giving the University of Makati Professorial Chair 2024, proudly awarded to Professor Teodoro Loydon C. Bautista, DPA, in recognition of his outstanding academic excellence, exemplary scholarship, and unwavering commitment to advancing higher education through instruction, research, and public service. Given this 19th day of November 2025 at the University of Makati, Taguig City, signed Professor Alexor C. Ramos, PhD, CESE. And before I announce, please stay there, committee, before I announce the final recipient of this pack, we also would like to announce on behalf of the management of the University of Makati, and I think relative to what Dr. Prisno mentioned earlier about intensive research produces incentive, and I think that also concurs with your testimony, Dr. Lambohon. Our professorial chair presenters will be receiving a grant of 150,000 pesos. Thank you for correcting me. That's one of the happiest correction I received. 150. And as we announce that, we also would like to present the University of Makati Professorial Chair 2024 to Dr. Don Eliseo Lucero Prisno III, PhD, in recognition of his outstanding academic excellence, exemplary scholarship, and unwavering commitment to advancing higher education through instruction, research, and public service. Given this 19th day of November 2025 at the University of Makati, Taguig City, signed Professor Alexor C. Ramos, PhD, CESE, University President. Please indulge us with a few more minutes. May we ask all the presenters to please be together for a group photo, after which will be a group photo with management committee and maybe a group photo with all the participants who are here this morning. Thank you for your patience. And maybe this time CIC will be in front. Everyone else will be at the audience. So let's face the CIC team po in front. Okay, management and presenters, please be in front so that we have a picture with the participants. Participants, may we request you to come forward. Those at the back, please come forward so we look like a bigger group. Salamat po. I know we're hungry, so let's do this fast. Come on. Thank you so much. Let's rise. Rise, shine anywhere.